Now, My Footy Sports presents Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. The Spartanburg Vikings versus the Gaffney Indians.
All the history, all the region championships, all the state titles between these two. And we said it at the Open, there's just something right about them playing last with everything on the line. A region title will be won tonight as Gaffney and Spartanburg tangle. It's kicked away to the Vikings, who will have the first touch of it, and the return is up across the 20 to the 26-yard line, and that is where visiting Spartanburg in the visiting white uniforms will take over. And Coach,
good coverage by Gaffney there. It was knocked down to about the 15. Good coverage.
Spartanburg's going to be led out by Trey Burke, talented young quarterback for the Spartanburg Vikings, who has come into his own. He's been able to mature for this group and find his rhythm, and boy, is his play key tonight.
It really is. He's got 4 senior offensive linemen in front of him that hopefully will give good running lanes plus good protection.
First play from scrimmage going to be a give off, you know who, Trenton Lynch, and he's got plenty of room up across the 35. We saw Trenton Lynch against Burns just a couple of weeks ago on our air. Boy, was he something special, one of the key playmakers for the Vikings.
Well, again, a classic example of yardage after being hit. He was hit, ended up getting 3 or 4 yards, and that's a sign of a good back. That, you know, one lick's not going to stop him. This is
as experienced a team as Mark Hodge has brought in here to the reservation. 30 returners from a year ago, but that Gaffney defensive front has its say on this first down.
Great job there on the defensive front. Trying to run the little flip sweep, and they handle that very well.
Suffice it to say, the defense, the strength really for both of these teams in many ways this year.
Well, I think if you're going to be 7-1, 8-1, whatever, you good defensively, and defense can carry you a long ways.
Certainly a formula for championships, and that's the aspiration for both these teams. This is caught, going to be reeled in up across the 40 to the 42-yard line. Spartanburg able to get it in the hands of Kevon Ferguson, a junior wide receiver. Now we get a look at this first key third down up near the midfield logo.
There again, he got the ball out of his hands quick, and he's got some space there. It's open again if he wants to do it.
Well, a little eager to get going here, and the fans in this packed house look on from both sides as flags fly. We'll see who this is against. Critical penalty in a 3rd and 5.
Looked like maybe motion by the offense.
You nailed it. It's going to back the Vikings up just a little bit. They'll have a 3rd down and 10. Here's a look at what happened on the line, Coach.
Maybe it was the left side of the line that moved. Well, actually both tackles sort of moved. But again, 3rd and 10 is a lot more difficult than 3rd and 5. So Gaffney, that's a good break for them. And you know, again, similar to the same formation except different people on the line.
Gaffney shows pressure left side, able to sit down in between it and make the catch. He's going to be loose down the far side, and Rice is going to take it all the way in for a Spartanburg touchdown. How about that?
Beautiful.
Backed up by the penalty, then they find Justin Rice, and he takes it home.
I tell you what, that was a great catch. Reminds me of, we were playing Dorman in 1990 at Dorman, and we were at Union, and Monty Means comes across the middle of the field and makes the catch like that and takes it on in to score, and we're able to win the game. But that was an excellent catch, nice throw, excellent catch, and then he had the speed to score.
In a game like this, handling the early pressure is critical, being able to deal with those jitters. You saw the penalty, and that comes to mind, but then you turn around and see Spartanburg respond. That's huge confidence builder for the Vikings.
Exactly, just a big play, and you know, you try not to give up those big plays, but that was, you know, both teams have big play capabilities. Spartanburg's kicking game is really good, and of course they nailed that one right there.
Well, you know Love can put it through the uprights. He's kicked them for over 50 this year. His brother's kicking at Virginia Tech in the ACC. Quite a family of kickers for the Vikings, and quite a start for Mark Hodge and company on the road in Gaffney.
Big start.
Well, an experienced Spartanburg team drawing first blood, early touchdown as they find Justin Rice. Over half the field covered by the Vikings, and now they'll kick it away for Gaffney's first touch. Boy, what a crowd here tonight. You look at the home side, not an empty seat in the place, and Spartanburg always travels well. Also, Coach, this one brings them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game and a great crowd. This is important for Gaffney coming up because Spartanburg's got 11 seniors starting on defense. And so it's a challenge for Gaffney. They're a little bit younger than that. But
how many can you play at a time on defense?
Can't play with 11.
How many of them are seniors?
11.
That's going to be something to see for the Spartanburg team.
So they're going to have to respond here and put some first downs together.
Of course, this Gaffney offense looking to get jump started. Think about all the close games the Indians have played this year. Of course, able to open up a little bit of separation last week on the road, but they've played overtime on more than one occasion. They've been in so many tight fights, and you expect another one here tonight.
Yeah, and I tell you what, just to kick off into the end zone, that's one of the most unappreciated plays in high school football.
Absolutely.
That is, I mean, when you've got a kicker that can put the ball in the end zone, and we've been fortunate over the years to have some really good ones, they got to start on the 20, and that's big.
More often than not, Will Love is going to do just that for the Spartanburg Vikings. Here's your first look at Javon Gilmore. Of course, Gilmore working his way to Cherokee County this year. You'll remember he spent a little bit of time away. On the backside of that, had a few weeks due to the weather changes, trying to get him right back into that early rhythm, and this one is a little too tall. How important is the quarterback play for Gaffney tonight?
Well, certainly. I mean, he's got to be able, he's got good legs also. He throws the ball well. He's got some good receivers. So, you know, he's going to have to play well. Right then, he almost threw into double coverage, it looked like. But, you know, he's got to play well for him, and I'm sure he will.
Of course, Coach Dan Jones talking about how key Jade McDowell was going to be as well, how much pressure the back can take off of Javon Gilmore with his impact. And somewhat on cue, Gaffney goes to the ground for the first time. And it's going to be covered up just beyond the 20 at about the 22, and Gaffney will face its first third down of the night.
That was a quick pitch, and looked like you're trying to make a cut and slip there. And now they got much the same situation. They're 3rd and 8 here, so they need to recover and need to get a first if they possibly can.
That was Jamarcus Smith, who you saw on your screen there. And Gaffney's got plenty of wide receivers in this package. Twins to both sides, and before the play, a flag flies. What is it about third down? Flag on each third down so far.
Both of them. I did. Gaffney, I can't tell if he's in the game now, but number 4, Shane Davidson, who's, you know, he's got 9 catches for 200 yards and 5 TDs. So if they throw it to him, he usually scores. I'm not sure if he's in right now, but you know, it's they've got always have had excellent receivers.
Yeah, you know they're going to be playmakers all over the field with these two teams. That's the case each time they tangle. Plenty of pressure.
A little pressure, yeah.
Yep. Snaps up on Gilmore. He does connect it. Here's Jamarcus Smith, and he's across the 40 to the 43. So there's Gaffney's big play, and the Indians move the chains.
Had to reach back a little bit. The quarterback did a really good job of avoiding the pressure on either side, and nice catch and nice conversion, and keeps the drive going.
Well, we talk about how important it is for the defensive fronts to have their say, but the quick delivery from Javon Gilmore making all the difference. We got a player injured at around the 42-yard line being tended to. It does give us a chance to look at the Gaffney starting lineup. Who else do you highlight here? Coach, obviously Surratt grabs some attention on your screen when you talk about Shrine Bowlers, and we'll get into that a little bit later on, and offers to play at the next level. But who do you highlight for Gaffney here?
Again, I think the quarterback we've talked about, and there's the Davidson kid there that's the one I was talking about that is had so many yards and 5 touchdowns. But the key is going to be the offensive line. The key is going to be the offensive line, giving the running back some running room and protecting the quarterback. I think we've already seen the quarterback can throw the ball very well, so it's going to be a matter of just making sure that he has time to do it. Spartanburg with 3 down linemen, and again, there's a linebacker 21 sort of coming. Nice bounce to the outside.
That's Smith again, Jamarcus Smith, and he's out across midfield to the 46-yard line. The other thing you notice when you look at those starting lineups, it's a generational thing here at Gaffney. Those family names passed on from one father to a son.
A lot of them the same ones.
Even 3rd and 4th generational, and certainly uncles and dads that played, and now nephews are on the field. And true of Spartanburg as well. Some of the familiar names from this rivalry making their presence known again. Now Spartanburg, with Rice able to find the connection and find the end zone out front by 7. This is Gaffney's first touch of the football, if you're joining us, and the Indians across midfield at the 46.
And Zero, one of their north-south players, has just come in the ball game. He's normally on defense. Let me make sure I get that name correctly. But he's in the ball game now.
Andrew Roop,
a linebacker.
One of the tremendous, you said, players on this team. And you know, he's battling through some injury. How important is it to play in this game? You see him wearing the cast. He's not the only one out there that'll be Iron Manning it tonight.
Well, again, that just shows how important it is and how committed the Gaffney program is and how committed the players within the program is.
Gaffney now backed up to the 49. They're going to need the 36-yard line of the Vikings.
Penalties. You got, you know, they overcame the first one, so hopefully they can here.
Fortunate with downs to work with here. It's just a first down and long for Gaffney. No open real estate here, and coming near side is the QB. Gilmore's going to keep on his feet inside the 40 to the 37-yard line, and Gaffney's near the marker on that first down gain.
And you notice Zero Root was in to protect him. He protected his right side there and did a good job because pressure had been coming off that side. Now he felt secure to his right and was able to check the left and saw the running lane and took it. But that's a great move by the Gaffney coaching staff to bring him in. I'm sure he's not going to be in there every play because they just took him out, but he'll be in there in certain situations.
Nice block on the perimeter by Elijah Falls as well. Eli Falls, who was out there, you said it, plenty of good work done to make space for Gilmore. Here is Jaden McDowell, and he's going to be swallowed up. Vikings were waiting for Jaden McDowell, and they'll turn him aside.
The H-back came and tried to kick out, and that was to be run inside, but the Spartanburg defensive lineman did a good job of closing down. And
you talked about the Spartanburg defensive linemen. They are the feature players on this very experienced defense.
Very experienced, and that was good execution, and tried to bounce it out. And Spartanburg's got a lot of speed, as does Gaffney on defense, so it's hard to bounce it continually.
That was a look at the Bojangles starting lineup for Spartanburg. Flag comes in, and Gilmore's going to have to decide to just protect the football in the end, but there's going to be a little extra at the end of this as well. Flags fly in play and post play. There's going to be a lot to sort out here.
I'll tell you what, evidently the one after the play probably some type of personal foul or that type. I'm not sure if it was holding or what with the first flag.
All right, Coach, while they sort this out, I got to ask you, you've been a lot of these big games over the years. You know, folks from this particular area remember the Union days and the Greenwood days, and on down the line it goes, all the state championships in your Hall of Fame career. What's key early for coaches and players on a night like this?
Well, I think, again, there's a little bit of tenseness as you get ready. So you just got to get into the flow of the game. You've got to, you know, go and there's going to be some butterflies to begin with because of what's on the line, a championship, and what a competition it is. But you just got to eventually just take a deep breath, relax, and play the game and play it like you've been coached to play it. And you know, I think it's and that's going to happen. You got a little bit of jitters right now, and a little bit of you know, jumping and this type of thing, but that's going to settle down. This is going to be big here. I don't know if it. I don't think it'll be offsetting because one was during the play, one was after the play.
Exactly. They're walking Mark Hodge through it. This is doubtless the most experienced team, we should say, that Mark Hodge has brought in here, trying to do something he hasn't done yet, and that's handle a Dan Jones coach team here at Gaffney. There is it's a bitter rivalry between these two schools and these fan bases and these communities. Boy, do they come together on the backside of the football game, though, and there's a lot of respect between these two coaching staffs. I think a lot of respect,
and you talk about experience. This is probably one of the more experienced officiating crews also in the state, because you know, they look at the games and they book these officials, and so I'm sure they're getting it sorted out, whatever the case may be. I'm not sure that Mark is satisfied yet with the understanding. Let's see what he's holding. That would be during the play. Okay, exactly what we said. Holding on the play, personal foul after the play. So again, that's one of those penalties
that will come up critical. Walk us through what you see here, Coach.
72, looks like he's holding there. And, right there, I guess probably the league line 31 coming in.
You thought it was the extracurricular on the end of things that ended up hurting the Vikings, and it'll be first down Gaffney.
And that, again, that's an example of a penalty extending a drive.
Takes it to the 3-yard line, and the Indians set up with a fresh set of downs, trying to answer Spartanburg's opening touch score. Just able to get away initially is McDowell. Not forever, though. Pretty good coverage as he's stepping in and make the tackle. That's Don Kennard, one of the seniors. Well, you could say that every time. One of the seniors on the Spartanburg D, but it's Kennard in this occasion.
And that was a quick pitch back to the left here, and almost had him deep in the back. But the back did a decent job of getting almost back to the line of scrimmage. But linebacker from Spartanburg really read that well and came through, missed the tackle, but made him bounce back a little bit. So a good play as far as Spartanburg is concerned there. Again, 3 down linemen, both defenses are 3 down linemen. And there comes the linebacker right there.
Gilmore gets it underneath. That's well set up, and it's able to be caught down to the 31 as they tried to set something up inside for McDowell.
That was a great call offensively, but an even better play defensively. I mean,
got it.
Good call because they screened it right where the linebacker came from.
Sometimes the best calls can be snuffed out by an athlete stepping in there.
Athletes can do that. There's no doubt about that.
Sets up a 3rd down now.
I got trips up top.
Big play here. Just able to get back out of the neutral zone. Gaffney thought perhaps they were going to get that Spartanburg line to jump.
It's hard to keep all the leagues different on how they interpret that rule.
Give you a chance in high school.
Yeah.
Up top, and it's going to be too much air underneath this. Incomplete. 4th down coming.
They'll come back and run that because the number 5 or 6 crossing is wide open. And he went to his outside receiver, but they might not run it right now, but eventually they'll come back. And I think it's number 5 that hit him crossing.
Look at the way Jennings was able to just get back that allowed that play to happen. But, Coach, how much of it early is a chess match to see what might be there later on?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think you make notes about plays that maybe didn't materialize. But
here comes a 4th down try for Gaffney, and they're going to sling this toward the end zone.
Looks good.
His man's got a shot at it.
It looked good.
And it is caught for a touchdown. How about this? Shane Davidson, who you highlighted on the roster, has pulled down a thing of beauty for the Indians.
I tell you what.
They'll tie it up pending the extra point.
Now, that's 6 touchdowns for him. All right, now here's the kicking game and tie this thing up. But that was a beautiful throw. And they sprinted him out. They got him out of the pocket a little bit because he's had pressure, and he really threw a nice ball.
A 4th down go for broke for the Gaffney Indians. That pays dividends, and the extra point just as true. 1 touch of the football for the Vikings. 1 touch of the football for the Indians. Both teams find the end zone early on Friday Night Rivals.
What a start.
Well, Gaffney celebrating a first drive of consequence in their own right. The Indians march down the field, give them something to cheer about here at the reservations. Early returns indicate that this is just Gaffney and Spartanburg like it's always been, Coach.
Well, I tell you, every game just about year in and year out comes down to 1 or 2 key possessions. And both teams have come out. They put points on the board. Gaffney answered, and now it's back to Spartanburg. So we'll see what happens.
Gaffney playing with a great deal of emotion tonight because this is the final regular season home game for their coach, Dan Jones. Now, the aspirations are win him another state title. He's got a couple of those already in the history of this program. But tonight's important. It's the senior night emphasis. He's here for what will be for sure his last regular season game, and it's against his rival from a lifetime of playing and a lifetime of coaching. So tuck that away in the back of your mind. That's the extra element in this one. Here's the return man across the 20 to the 22. I know you've been there from a coaching standpoint. There's got to be much going on in the mind of Dan Jones tonight.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, what a storied career he's had. He's been a part of so much success here, whether it's a head coach or assistant coach, and this is his final team, and they're prepared to play, and it's crowds here, families here, I'm sure. So
he passed Bob Pravat as the winningest coach in Gaffney history as a part of his career, and that's saying something because the field is named after Coach Pravat here at Gaffney. Mark Hodges' crew coming in, not worried about all the history, trying trying to make right now matter, and there is all kind of real estate out in front of the back. Trenton Lynch, who shows his skills.
Well, again, that goes back to that offensive line. Those four seniors up front and one junior, and they just busted. Had a hole there. He busted through, and good speed and big play.
You think about this, Coach. Spartanburg has just showed us how balanced they can be. The big play through the air to Rice, the huge play on the ground from Trenton Lynch, and you have to honor everything with these Vikings.
Well, I think so, and I've seen them play a couple of times on TV. You called him one of them, I think. But you know, they just they can beat you in a lot of ways.
Very solid. We got a player down, injured at the 35. We'll break away while the training staff does its good work. Hope to come back with a good report from Gaffney. A 70-degree night in early November in Gaffney, South Carolina. Order it up weather tonight, Coach.
Unbelievable. There's been a lot of second Fridays in November. There's been 30 and 35 and 40 degrees. So this is a great night for fans and players and everybody.
Yeah, this rivalry's been played in the sleet and everything else from time to time. This
exactly.
is just what you would hope for. Injured player able to hop up off the field under his own power, and everybody's able to continue. So good returns coming there.
Motion.
Gaffney Indian. We get flags before the first play on the backside, and it's, as you said, going to back the Vikings up a bit.
Yeah, that was an H-back, number 19, that leaned forward and had the motion.
We were talking about the experience of Coach Hodges' team, the balanced nature of Coach Hodges' team, and he said it would mean something to him to take down one of the greats in Coach Dan Jones. They've had a friendly rivalry over the years, and he looks at the other sideline, and a guy in Chris Miller, who he spent a lot of time with in the coaching ranks, is over there as well. You may remember Chris Miller led Spartanburg to its most recent state championship in the D2 ranks not that long ago. Ended up retiring. Dan Jones called on the phone. He said, no, he goes here. I want the best coaches I can get on my staff. He was able to talk Chris Miller into coming on the defensive side. So there are individuals on both sides of these rivalries looking across at one another with all kind of history tonight. This is knocked down. They tried to get a crossing route into the hands of Zy Williams-Bond. It was incomplete. And the coverage there by Zion Dawkins for Gaffney, but that's often the case, maybe a little more so in a rivalry like this tonight. The coaches know each other very well.
Right. And Chris, of course, was at Burns as a head coach, winning the state championship, and then at Spartan High, and now here. So all the coaches on these staffs are very good. They've done a good job of bringing back, and Mike Lancaster, who was at Dorman for a number of years.
Try one toward the end zone there, looking for Zy Williams-Bond again. This one a little too much air underneath it. Fourth down is coming. You saw the starting lineup for Spartanburg that we walked you through a bit ago. Here's Gaffney's defense trying to slow them, and obviously you want to highlight Roop right there in the middle. He'll be wearing jersey number 0, and he's a factor.
Roop's a player. There's no doubt about that, and does a good job. And he's a north-south player, and they've got some experience there, and they've played some close games. The games they've lost have been close, so they played well.
You're always in striking distance with a kicker like Love. They're going to try for a 29-yard spot, and it'll be a 39-yard field goal for the Vikings, and it has the distance easily, but he just missed it. You called it, Coach, and it is no good. So the Ingles field goal challenge was in effect momentarily. Stick around. On every field goal made tonight, Ingles will donate $100 to the Boys and Girls Clubs as part of the Ingles field goal challenge. Our friends at Ingles wish the best to all of our competitors tonight. That one will not go for Spartanburg, and we hold steady at 7-7.
That was one of those wide right. Florida State's very familiar with that. That's for sure.
You remember that in football history, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we're break, and then when we come back, it'll be Gaffney football. We'll go from there. I want to. All right, the Indians have the footballs. We welcome you back to Gaffney, and this is going to be tossed near side. to Jamarcus Smith that is in and out of his hands. Let's continue that conversation about coaches just a moment before we wade too deep into this one. You talked about Chris Miller. He helped build that Burns dynasty.
Yeah.
Dan Jones played here at Gaffney, knows this rivalry from a player standpoint, was an assistant long time, has won a couple of state championships for the Indians, has become the all-time winningest coach for Gaffney. And Mark Hodge on the other side, who made a name for himself under Doc Davis.
Yes, exactly.
Who is the name from that 90s Spartanburg dynasty.
And
so
then went to Chapman and won championships.
And a guy named Debo Samuel helped build quite a dynasty there at Chapman. So the history is thick on both sides, but a guy in Mark Hodge who, because he was in that Doc Davis era, and a guy in Dan Jones because he played here at Gaffney, who know the depths of this rivalry very well.
No doubt, no doubt. And of course, Doc's a good friend of ours, just a great football coach. And I was saying Mike Lancaster is at Dorman, then went to Travelers Rest as the head coach. He's now back at Spartanburg, one of the really outstanding offensive line coaches in our state. So they're both good. They hire good people.
Yes, they do. Surround themselves with the best.
And that's
a great point.
Yeah, surround yourself with good people and let them do their job.
Third down for the Indians and trying to take a shot again. This worked for a touchdown earlier, but it's going to be out of everybody's reach this go round. And fourth down coming for Gaffney, backed up at the 21. I'll say this for fans who may be flipping through tonight and say, all right, well, you're talking about this rivalry. Tell me a little more. Nobody in the history of the state of South Carolina has won more state championships than the Gaffney Indians. And in the 90s, the Spartanburg Vikings rolled off 3 in a row and were the team of the decade.
Exactly.
And you go back decades with these two teams duking it out for this region of the state and a title in it year in and year out. That's what you're watching tonight. We'll be back with more of it on the other side of the break. 4:52 to go in the opening quarter. All knotted up in Gaffney. In the booth here at the reservation with legendary Hall of Fame South Carolina head coach Shell Doolin. Coach, we're talking about this rivalry head-to-head between Gaffney and Spartanburg. You faced them both many times.
Many times.
Walk us through these two programs and some of the great memories you have of tangling with them.
Well, when we were at Union, we were in the same region with Gaffney, Spartanburg, Dorman, Rock Hill, Northwestern. So we played them every year, and it was just always a very intense game. And Union's biggest rivalry is Gaffney. Gaffney's biggest rivalry is Spartanburg. But it was big to the Union folks to play Gaffney.
And Spartanburg now has those rivalries with that Burns team that you mentioned. Coach Miller alongside Coach Bentley helped build into a dynasty in the early 2000s. And, of course, they have the Dorman rivalry. That's the cross-county rivalry. And all those teams are in that region, too, you're talking about.
And all this area, in the 1990s, you're talking about Spartanburg. Then we won 2 at Union in 1995. And then when Mike Anthony took over there, I think they won 2 more or 1 more. So they had 3 in the 90s. And, it was just great intent, great games. You can't. People just get so excited about it, and that's what makes high school football so special.
Championships abound in this part of the state. These are two teams
really
that have hopes for a championship here in 2024, battling it out. First down, Spartanburg in Gaffney territory at the 41. We've seen Chris Sutton a part of things a moment ago. Of course, we had the long run by Trenton Lynch. Spartanburg reminding us early, in addition to Burke, the quarterback, who's the general of it all, they have plenty of playmakers.
They got plenty of playmakers. And they run the ball right now. Look for a little either RPO or maybe just a fake and run and pull back and throw. But
busting through the hole and making a big lick.
And that was number 24, wasn't it?
That is 29, Daquan Croker, who comes through there, and he makes his presence known. This is worth another look, Coach.
Oh, yes.
Take a look at that Gaffney defensive pursuit. The Indians.
And that was a backside, and they probably got something where they can ride him. If that man crashes, look for the quarterback to keep it. Even though it may not be a touchdown run, it could be a run that keeps them from crashing quite so much.
Burke's going to fake the give, and he tries to roll out. He's being pursued and is taken down right into that Gaffney bench, and they will celebrate with the likes of Sherman Tate and company. Now, a little bit tense anytime you have one set of members of one team going into that other bench, but it looks like the officials were Johnny on the spot to make sure everybody's separated with these.
Exactly. That was that was great pursuit by Gaffney, but close on the sideline. Close on the sideline for the second guy coming in. But anyway, it was a. See that.
Yeah, you see the very end of the play there, and able to finish things up when all was said and done was Sherman Tate after the pursuit was provided. He and a teammate getting the job done. A Gaffney tandem to force Spartanburg to kick it away.
So now all of a sudden the defenses are entering into it.
You called for them a moment ago. Here they are, reminding you they're available in this night as well. Going to be a bounce at the 11. What a recovery there to somehow get his hands on it. And it looked like that had the potential to be disastrous, but Jamarcus Smith reaches up and snatches it out of the sky to preserve Gaffney's possession.
That's what you call a lucky bounce, I think. I think so. But yeah, both offenses go up and down the field and score. Then now the next two series, the defense come through and have come through and sort of state their claim that, well, hey, we're going to have something to say about this game too.
Well, and coming into the game tonight, it was the defenses that had been the headliners for both.
Exactly.
So it should come as no surprise to fans. These are two championship caliber programs built on their defensive strength.
And a lot of times you come into games and you have your first 10 plays, you have them sort of scripted, and this is what you want to do based on what you've seen on film.
And it's just a matter of how much of it you can execute.
Well,
we will break away, come back with more from Gaffney, South Carolina, in a tie game late first. These two teams, for fans who maybe haven't followed it as closely, will go in opposite playoff brackets this year. Both of them are expected to have home games. Both of them are expected to be among the favorites in their respective divisions. Spartanburg will go Division I. Gaffney will go Division II. We'll talk about who else will be in those before it's all said and done. But this is the one chance they have to play tonight. It's for the region title, and fans will say, well, maybe they'll meet again in the playoffs. Historically, that's true, but it's all about tonight this year.
Exactly. Won't meet again this year.
You were talking about scripted plays as Gaffney goes to work here on a first down at the 10-yard line. Let's see what happens on this first down play, working his way across the 13 to the right at the 15-yard line. Talk about the importance of those scripted plays as you were walking us through during the play.
Well, the offensive coaches have all week to look at film, to check out the opponent's defense, and so they come up with a list of 10 or 15 plays that they may want to run the first 10 or 15 plays of the game. And so they may have a little bit of advantage, but then once the defense sees it one time, they go to the sidelines, make the necessary corrections and adjustments, and so that's sort of what's happened here. There was a quarterback faked and he kept it. It was probably a read, and he got a little bit of yardage there. First time we've really seen that.
And they'll use Jamarcus Smith in that spot, as well as Gilmore, who's at the quarterback position now, and cut a flip after making the catch.
Great catch.
With a first down is Smith, and that is Brady Smith, who reels this in, and he's going to be beneficiary, it would look like, of the flag as well.
I think so, yeah. I think they call that on the tackle. The young man that made the tackle there.
Bernard, who plays with a head of steam, has made some amazing plays tonight.
But that's another great catch.
You called it. Climbing the ladder, Brady Smith. Gilmore put it in a spot where he could catch it, and Gaffney's up across the 30. We'll see if they tack on anything further. Certainly trending that way.
Yeah. I might have missed something. It was a low lick, but it wasn't around the head. I'm not sure exactly why that was called.
I'm not sure if they were thinking.
I hate to second guess, but
yeah, not sure if they were thinking maybe we'll get another look at it. Did he lead with the helmet or anything? I'm not sure what happened there. But you said it, just trying to be where he needed to be to make
the lick was well below the waist. I mean, maybe we're going to see it again right here.
Here's another glance. Here, yeah. Ended up flipping, and you said those football plays that can be tough. Coming near side, up near the 45-yard line, and ended up swallowed up for a loss. Here's that Spartanburg defense with a response. Cam Smith put on quite a show on our air just a few weeks ago, both defensively and offensively. He's in the mix again here defensively.
Oh yeah, exactly. He's a good player, and it was again, they've gave up that yardage, got the penalty, and then we'll see how they responded. Responded very well on first down.
And Smith coming all the way across to be a part of this. You see him, he's wearing jersey number 22 right on the right side of your screen. They get pressure on the Gaffney QB. Screen is set up beautifully and able to hit a seam as Jamarcus Smith inside the 30 to the 29-yard line. Boy, what a well-designed play this was.
Tunnel screen, and they roll the quarterback to the right, comes back, but the key to that is the blocking out here by the other receivers. Whole key thing is you got to block the one that's lined up on the person catching it, and then hopefully the person that catches it can make another one miss it, which is exactly what happened.
May not garner you as much attention as the guy running the football or catching the football, but it is the key to that play. Speaking of running the football, here's Gilmore. He slides down near the marker on a positive first down gain. You know, Gaffney seems to have a bit of a rhythm now, Coach.
They do, and right there it looked like almost that maybe the running back went the wrong way, but the quarterback adjusted. You know, he headed out there. The running back went wide, so there was no fake or anything, but he just cut it up and got 8 or 9 yards.
Hey, guess what? We're having so much fun, you don't realize it rapidly passes you by. Closing seconds of the first quarter, one in the books at the reservation in Cherokee County. And Gaffney has one on the board. Spartanburg has one on the board through the first quarter of action. One quarter in the books. What are your takeaways from that first quarter, Coach?
Well, again, I think both defenses sort of adjusted after the two opening drives for scores. Both teams have big play capabilities, and no doubt about that. I still think it'll be a relatively high-scoring game because they're just so good. But right now, the defenses have settled in. This is a good challenge for Spartanburg. 2nd and 2 on about the 22. Again, we're starting to get to that red zone, and now they need to make them have to kick a field goal instead of letting them score. And Gaffney needs to score instead of kick a field goal.
Yeah, what can you do on those possessions? Going to be quicker than the game.
Gets key right here.
A little bit of trouble.
That's good pressure.
They will swallow up Jamarcus Smith, who is at the quarterback position, part of the tandem for Gaffney, and backs the Indians up just a little bit. Hey, first quarter numbers coming in here as we give you one more look. Walk us through what happened here.
Well, the defensive back makes a great play there, and you know, man came from the backside. 4 sort of made him stop, but he wanted to throw it deep to his left, and the guy wasn't open. I mean, it was good coverage by the corner.
Calvin Choice stepping in nicely, one of the strong athletes on the Spartanburg side of things tonight. Ball
get on the ball
loose, and that's going to be rolling until it eventually goes out of bounds. And another one coming. A couple of numbers for you from that first period in terms of total yardage. 145 for Spartanburg, 126 for Gaffney. So fairly even, and it shows you why we're at 7-7 on the scoreboard.
Exactly. We always told our players, anytime that ball's thrown to the side like that, if it's incomplete, you get on it. Make the official tell you it wasn't a backward pass.
Yeah, play it all the way through.
Make him have to make that decision. Because, and that was close. I'm not saying it was a backward pass, but it was close.
Difference in this part of the field for Spartanburg versus Gaffney. Indians going to go for it on 4th down again. Remember, scored on one of these earlier. Trying for the end zone again here. This time incomplete. And Spartanburg's defense will hold. So it's a tale of 2 4th downs right now for Gaffney. The one that was thrown up for a TD and the one the Spartanburg Vikings just turned aside.
And again, a good play by the corner, the right corner. Good coverage, you know, good, not a bad throw. He just had good coverage, and you know, just didn't make it happen. But again, getting some pressure on him. Pressure has come from the left, from Spartanburg's left, Gaffney's right, the last 2 plays.
Well, what have you thought about the play from Spartanburg quarterback Trey Burke so far?
Well, again, he had the good throw for the touchdown, and is managing the game well. That's the second one he's had. You know, maybe Gaffney had one tip, and that one was tipped there. So, but again, doing a good job.
That was Calvin Choice, who just made a nice play on the defensive side of the ball. Targeted here, playing a little Ironman football tonight.
I tell you, doing it both ways. Was that Hunter boy from Colorado that plays both ways?
Gaffney with Harris in there, Galik Harris, who was on the spot to make the stop. 2nd down. Indians in those dark home defensive jerseys. Spartanburg able to find some spots between them. And here's a guy who's already made his mark on this game. Justin Rice again into Gaffney territory.
Great play again. Not sure if that was an RPO where he was reading and could either give or throw, or whether it was just the inside fake, but the slant route was wide open, and that was a big play for Spartanburg. They've had a lot of success attacking in the middle of the field already tonight.
Had a lot of success with Justin Rice. He had that one down the far sideline for the Spartanburg TD, and you said it, Coach. They're going to toss one near side to Williams Bond, but it is incomplete, intended for Zy Williams Bond. That was number one on number one. What do they say? Number one in your program, number one in your hearts. Jaden Sims providing the coverage on Williams Bond.
I'll tell you, and it looks like Spartanburg's coming out wanting to throw the ball a little bit more. They got stuffed a couple of times the last series running it, so they pretty well opened it up. They got the H back now, 3 wideouts.
Big hole made by that Spartanburg offensive line. Big enough. Trenton Lynch will put the Vikings back out front. Second long run of the night for Trenton Lynch. The first that ends with pay dirt.
I tell you, that was a beautiful play and good blocking. And I tell you, I'm worried about the young man dropped that ball. He was across the line. We won a state championship game at Greenwood in 1999, and we had our tailback, who was a great player, actually probably dropped the ball before he got across the end zone, but the officials said he was in. But always be careful of that, young man, when you're running that and getting in that end zone.
No moments keep coaches up a little later at night sometimes. Here's Love punching it right through. He is true on a second extra point for Spartanburg. Trenton Lynch breaks loose to put the visiting Vikings back out front. Vikings set sail. Their football generation.
Great atmosphere.
Love their football generationally here in Gaffney, that's for sure.
And we always never had a problem at all there.
And Spartan High, we were talking coming in here about some of the old games played at Snyder Field. You can almost see Steve Davis running up and down the field, right? And you think about some of the great players that were there when these games were played up under the train trestles and onto the Wofford campus at Snyder before they had that pristine facility they now have at Spartan High now. Yeah. This facility, the new reservation as they call it in Gaffney, and that Spartan High Viking Stadium, boy, two of the best venues in the state.
Very nice, very nice. We played at Spartanburg up there in 1990.
And it speaks to how much commitment they make to their football.
Well, and Stephen Davis had run wild the week before. Hey, Thomas, good to see you.
Well, here comes the initial play of this set, and it's going to be turned back at the 20, and they're going to drop the ball carrier back. Yeah, you think about the great history between these two and some of those great rivalry games. And, both of these coaches have enough of an understanding because they played it, they lived it, they coached it on so many levels of just what it means to win this rivalry game. But this is the first time in a while that it has landed on this final night of the regular season, which makes it all the more elevated.
Exactly. And somebody said this was supposed to be like the 8th game of the year, but the weather and all made them move it. So,
well, we'll remind fans as the catch is made for a first down by J. Marcus Smith over the middle. That's going to move the chains. Gaffney will have it up at the 34-yard line. But this was the game that was supposed to be played the night that Hurricane Helene rolled through the Carolinas, and it was obviously postponed. They've added a week onto the end of the regular season. We would have been in playoffs tonight.
Exactly.
Added a week into the regular season, went back and covered those games that were missed that night, and it's the reason we end up with this treat at the end of the regular campaign. We don't want to go too deep into this thing without saying, and we have each week, there are still those in our viewing area who are battling through much of the results and the recovery and the restoration from Hurricane Helene. Certainly back near our studios at WLOS there in Asheville,
Western North Carolina.
And, and we still are sending up thoughts and prayers, and our hearts remain with those folks as they continue to recover and bounce back. I think it's suffice it to say this, Coach, we've learned even more about what an amazing community we live in here in the upstate of South Carolina and the western part of North Carolina, the way these communities rally around one another when it matters.
No doubt, and the first responders that have come out, Samaritan's Purse, and just so many programs and so many individuals and so many churches have responded, and in a positive way, and just the diligence of those folks that was just affected so much more than some of us can realize.
And we're still with you. Everybody on our crew, everybody at the station, and all across this region, absolutely still with you. But it was that week that these two teams were supposed to play.
Right.
You thought it might be a vision of what was going to come for the region. In the end, it gets put at the end of the year, and tonight it's for the region. And a big third down to that end coming for Gaffney. How big? The Indians want to call a timeout and talk it over. We will break away as well. Come back and set the stage for a huge second quarter third down right after this. Bojangles Friday Night Rivals continuing from Gaffney, South Carolina, alongside Hall of Fame head coach Shell Dooley. Jason Patterson, happy to have you with us on this Friday night. All right, Coach, what can we expect on this big third down for Gaffney?
Well, I think Gaffney, they've come out and running on 2 down and been very successful. They got 0 back in the game. I look for some kind of play action because they've got 2.5 yards to go, but they're running against a very senior dominated defense, and they're getting ready to come off the corner.
Plenty of pressure, and there will be nowhere to go or hide for Jaden McDowell. He is met in that Spartanburg front as advertised. Corey Cheek's going to celebrate with his teammates here for Spartanburg. The Vikings were ready and waiting.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. They got penetration, and anytime you get penetration from the defensive line and linebackers, you know, you got a chance to make a good play.
Peyton Jones, the first senior through. The first man through for Spartanburg. It'll force Gaffney to kick it away. And this is going to be working its way back to 32-yard line. That's where they'll take over. You had a visitor in the booth just a minute ago.
Yes, Tom White. Tom was who's an interim superintendent here at Gaffney. Tom, Mary and I were at Union when Tom was there, came there as principal and superintendent, and
always good to see the
always
administrators.
Good to see those people
that make it possible for us to have games like this on a beautiful night like this in South Carolina. Well, an nth degree orthodontic smile cam. They may be a little too tense to smile at times tonight, these fans on both sides of this rivalry, but you're going to see them in those big moments with the teeth showing. We thank our friends at nth degree orthodontics for sponsoring our smile cam. Spartanburg goes back to work, picked up, slammed down is the guy who ran for the most recent Spartanburg touchdown, Trenton Lynch. They'll be trying to keep an eye on him. What adjustments have you seen from both teams here in the second quarter thus far?
Well, again, Spartanburg came out throwing it, Gaffney came out running it, which is a little bit different. But again, I think this is a key series here. Spartanburg very much would like to get up 2 scores, and Gaffney can't afford to let him get up 2 scores.
Josh Corey there in the middle of things. That's another of those legacy names here in Gaffney, South Carolina for sure. Here's Burke. He's going to fire it. He's got it, man. Beautiful slant. Justin Rice again beyond the Gaffney logo and into Indian territory for the Vikings.
Great throw. Great throw. Good. It all begins with protection. And, you know, when these quarterbacks have time to throw, they're both very, very good. And he had time to throw there. Great route, but a really nice throw.
Trey Burke, who's already thrown for 1 touchdown tonight, works from that Gaffney logo, and enough disruption as he was being pressured by Sherman Tate, who worked his way into the backfield. It's incomplete.
I think that was an RPO. He has the option to either give or throw. Now, when I was at Woodruff and we were assistant coach there, we used to scrimmage Spartanburg. They had a quarterback named Steve Fuller.
I think we remember that guy.
And they had 4 options. I mean, give it, quarterback keep it, pitch it, or throw it. But that he could either give or throw, and chose to throw that one. Again, I think the ball might have been tipped a little bit.
Timeout going to be called for by the Spartanburg Vikings. You know, you invoke one of the great names in Spartanburg history, Steve Fuller. Steve Davis, who we talked about earlier, Anthony Simmons, who was a big part of those 90s runs, the retired jerseys for a Vikings team out front and looking for more. The list could go on and on all night of the great players on both sides of this rivalry. Tremendous history between these two schools.
Well, one that we saw, Malcolm Long, who's now the athletic director here at Gaffney, doing a great job as an athletic director. But, boy, he was one outstanding quarterback.
And he's got designs on trying to help this team get to his alma mater down at South Carolina State, play for a state championship this year.
He used to throw the ball, Mary and I both, when we saw him a while ago, how high he would throw it. and they were just right on target.
Led this team to one of the improbable comebacks against the Somerville squad when you talk about state championship history. And
exactly.
You referenced those Doc Davis teams in the 90s, and Simmons one of the names in the thick of that. Both these teams, boy, have they made their mark and left their fingerprints on football and the Palmetto State. Back to work they go here after the timeout. Second down, Spartanburg. You know, Mark Hodge has done that. You talked about his time at Chapman. Obviously, the tutelage of Doc Davis, the connection with Chris Miller, what he's done putting guys in the NFL from his days in Chapman and from his days in Spartanburg. He's got players that are all over the place. He really has built a culture at Spartanburg High that goes beyond what happens on the gridiron.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, the kids are students. They're students first. They're fine young men. Talking about coaches in this series, Phil Strickland, one of the great coaches in the history of our state.
Third down try down the far side. That's just a little bit incomplete. Fourth down coming for Spartanburg. Yeah, he won some titles here at Gaffney and elsewhere.
Yeah, elsewhere too at Batesburg. And but you know, there's been so many. I've got a great story about A.L. Curtis I'd like to share at one time, but if you get time. But just so many great coaches, going back to Coach Brevet, going back to Coach Carr, and others at these various at Spartanburg and Gaffney. Just excellent coaches year in and year out.
Who's going to add their name to the lore of this battle between Spartanburg and Gaffney tonight? That's to be determined, but a good one for you on Friday Night Rivals. That's going to go on the far side, and looks like it's going to be well placed for the Vikings. Blown dead at the 8-yard line, and Gaffney will start in the shadow of its own end zone this time with 5:24 to go in the half.
Everybody in the stands wasn't watching the ball. They were watching right back there at the kicker because there was contact, but the referee chose not to call anything.
And it ends up being huge for Spartanburg that he did not, because it is a well-placed punt for the Vikings.
But it would have been a first down.
Yes, it would have been. Here is that Spartanburg kicking game again, though, showing its strength. Though.
Exactly. But that was close. I mean, I think he made the right call.
One of those borderlines.
Yeah, I think he made the right call in not calling it, but nobody pulls from Spartanburg would say that.
That's true.
But it did end up good for him down here.
That's the other thing about these rivalry games. It depends on which set of glasses you're looking at it through.
Uh-oh, looky here.
Loose with plenty of space out across the 25 is Jaden McDowell. You know, he was the player that Coach Jan Jones highlighted. When we were talking with Dan Jones prior to this week's game, he emphasized the importance of number 2. He said, yeah, want to get Gilmore jump started at the quarterback position. Yeah, Smith gives us another option. But Jaden McDowell, when he's at his best, is a game changer for Gaffney.
5 runs in a row for Gaffney. 5 runs in a row. Came out throwing. Now they've run it 5 straight times. And right now, Gaffney's offensive line is doing a good job.
Well, let's give him a little bit of love. We told you about Shedrick Surratt, who has visions beyond just his high school career. Of course, Scotland Dover is up on that line. Cam Shippey, Nate Davis, and Calvin. CJ, they call him Brooks. Cameron Lemons spells some time in there. Seth Phillips also another part among this offensive lineman group at times that have done the good work for Gaffney across the course of the year. And they give plenty of time to Gilmore here to step back and make the connection.
Great throw, good route, great throw. Just fit it right in the area there. And, you know, right now, you know, Gaffney's operating on a lot of cylinders, especially come off their 6-yard line. And now they turn in the field.
Gilmore coming into his own a little bit. Remember, they're trying to get his sea legs underneath him to some degree after that stretch in the middle of the year where he missed some time, having to step aside for 1 half in one game, 1 half in another. And then, of course, the weather issues. And as McDowell tries to get loose, he loses the football. It is picked up by Spartanburg, taken inside the 20 and all the way down to the 10-yard line. The Vikings are going to have it thanks to the scoop of Brooks Vaughn.
There again, the running back made a great move in the hole, bounced it to the outside. Just a beautiful move. And good job by number 4.
That was Calvin Choice who punched it away, Coach, and then scooped up by Brooks Vaughn, who took it to the doorstep. Vikings will have it on the 10-yard line. How many times have we called Calvin Choice's name tonight already on both sides of the ball? He's been a contributor for Spartan High.
Now, here's one of the keys to the game. Can you make them kick a field goal? Gaffney needs to make them kick a field goal here.
First bank red zone opportunity for Spartanburg. A reminder, all the red zone opportunities tonight brought to you by our friends at First Bank, 23 locations across western North Carolina and the upstate to serve you. Here are the Vikings, first and goal.
And Spartanburg needs to score a touchdown.
Yeah, you're right. Field goal or touchdown, determining factor of how these red zones are handled. Lynch from the side at around the 8-yard line, and he's going to be covered up. You said it. Gaffney was beginning to go on the mark.
Yeah.
The first major turnover of the game goes in the Vikings column.
And turnovers, and then we said sudden change after turnover. Again, how do they respond? How does Spartanburg respond? Do they get the touchdown, or does Dorman able to stop him? So, you know, you got to how you respond. You can't go out there with your head.
Trying to the back of the end zone. It is caught, but he's out of bounds. Not enough real estate over there in order to make the catch. And it's going to be 3rd down and goal from the 6. And here's going to to play that determines what you're talking about.
Big play here. There's so much difference between 17-7 and 21-7.
Indian fans trying to get Gaffney up and at him here as they stand to their feet. How much separation can the Vikings create, currently up 14-7?
Big play.
Gonna stack a couple of receivers back-to-back near side before motion. Now tossed toward the end zone, and enough disruption by an Indian right there at the goal line. A Gaffney Indian able to get his hand on it, and it is incomplete.
I think he wanted to throw the slant, and it wasn't open. Because he's hit that several times. Now that's a win for Gaffney. This is a win for Gaffney. Now whether or not at the end of the game and a show, but this is a win to be in that position and to not give up a touchdown unless something flukish happens here. But
21-7, a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah, it really is. Coach. It really is. And that again, that's you got to score TDs when you're in red zone, and you got to make them kick field goals when you're on defense.
Here is the Ingles field goal challenge once again in effect for Spartanburg. This is going to be a 24-yard try. And Will Love is good. A reminder, Ingles Markets will be providing $100 to the boys and girls clubs as a result of the Ingles field goal challenge. Will Love has got a brother kicking for the Hokies. They'll be taking on the Clemson Tigers tomorrow.
Exactly.
If you want to see one Love, tonight we're showing you another. And he puts Spartanburg a little further out front. Gaffney and Spartanburg battling it out in Cherokee County. You know, it's a county just across the county line rivalry between these two, separated by less than a half hour. There's all the state championships. You know, they'll tell you have one more than everybody else is. A lot of those early ones, you talked about Greenwood, where you spent a great deal of time, and so many of those early championships that were voted on the way college football used to be. And Gaffney has been a perennial champion decade after decade. You want to stick around after this 3:06? We're going to have the Carolina Furniture Concepts Coaches Corner. We thank our friends at Carolina Furniture Concepts for making sure you can hear from our coaches tonight. You'll hear from one going in, whoever's leading, one coming out, whoever's trailing at the half. Get the thoughts of both of our tremendous head coaches, two of the great guys in this business, Dave Jones and Mark Hodge. All right, Coach, here's a 2-for-1 opportunity for Gaffney right now. Walk us through what the thought process is.
Well, again, you know, if they can take it and go down and score and not leave much time on the clock, then they get the kickoff starting the second half. And this is something you hear about on TV all the time. And, you know, hopefully if this is their last possession, they get points, and then they get it back to start. Now, Spartanburg, of course, wants to stop them and get the ball back again.
Which has worked out well for the Vikings so far. This has too. Another touchback as Love kicks it into the end zone. He's a game changer. All right, how about Spartanburg so far? They score. They take advantage of the turnover by at least putting 3 on the board, and things are beginning to trend Spartanburg Vikings now.
Yeah, that's why this is important. Even if they don't score now, they need to eat up enough time to where Spartanburg doesn't have a lot of time in the first half. And then they can go in and make whatever changes you know, they need to. But I feel like the way they were moving the ball the last time they had it, they've got a good shot of moving it down and getting it in scoring position. They've got the 4 wideouts and the H-back, so what they're going to throw now.
Yeah, well, certainly setting up that way. Here's Gaffney on first down. They got 3:06 to work with in the opening half. And as the Indians put Gilmore back there in the quarterback. Actually, check that. That's J. Marcus Smith back there at the quarterback position again. And he'll slice through for about 6 or 7. Boy, you'll take that on first down every time.
I guarantee you that's a good play, and good first down play. They got plenty of time. I'm trying to see how many timeouts they've got.
A couple of timeouts for the Vikings and 1 timeout left for Gaffney at the moment.
Okay.
See those right at the bottom of your scorebug, well indicated by our crew. This is going to be smothered up, and how many times have we seen the combo of C.J. Woodruff? We've talked about Peyton Jones, Cam Smith, a number of the other backers. It's C.J. Woodruff breaking through this time.
And he's a good player, a senior, and he's had a good year. One of their leading tacklers, at least through the first 5 or 6 games.
Third down coming.
I'm sure that if they don't get it, and Spartanburg use one of their timeouts, if they don't get a first here.
Underneath, tried to go to McDowell, but he is marked and stopped. And there is the Shrine Bowl performer and one of the standouts. He made a name for himself on our air a few weeks ago. That's Cam Smith, who was right where he needed to be.
I'll tell you what, if I'm Gaffney, I am not snapping it till the last second here. Spartanburg chose not to use a timeout. So they snapped and they've got 20 seconds on the clock.
Kicks it away, fair caught by the Vikings in Gaffney territory at the 46. So Spartanburg in a spot to maximize their lead here with 86 seconds remaining in the opening half.
Share something with you. We worked every Thursday of every year I was a head coach. Do you realize that if a team punts the ball to you and you call fair catch, you can put the ball in play any way you want to? And one way is to set it, kick it through the uprights. It's 3 points. Now you don't do that unless there's 1 or 2 seconds left in the half. But I just thought about that when right now they could snap it or they could place kick it.
The right sequence.
Yeah, but
has to be in effect.
But now this is again, they've gotten the ball back. I think you said 2 times.
Yeah, this is a team with 2 timeouts looking for some major points again, and a big lick is laid as stepping up to cover this for Gaffney is Kendarius Bailey. Big number 27 there as an impact moment of the night. Spartanburg quickly to the line though. 1 and change remaining in the opening half. Trey Burke looking calm and collected. Not so much anymore. He is swallowed up on that Gaffney logo. And you're right. You would think the Vikings, well, they're going to try to get to their feet quickly. 53 and it ticks downward. Behind the sticks on 3rd down. 3rd and 11. They need the 35 of the Gaffney Indians for a first. Spartanburg already up 17-7. Look at the Gaffney Brain Trust there on the sideline as they watch to see what's happening next in the chess match.
A lot of time ticking off. A lot of time ticking off.
Trey Burke now on 3rd. Swings a pass out far side. There's Sutton, and he's going to find some space inside the 35, the 30-yard line, and he's got a first down. So move the chains, and you said it, time now somewhat of a factor as 15 seconds remain. But how about this play, Coach?
That's a great play again, showing speed, not going down. Again, you got to save 1 timeout to get your field goal team. You got to save 1.
Burke.
Well, what can you say?
This man, there's Rice down to the 20, still 10 seconds remaining.
Use 5. And again, I'm trying to see
2 timeouts left for Spartanburg.
Yeah, they've got 2. But
keeping them in the pocket right now and certainly in striking distance of the Vikings.
Yeah, got to leave 1, got to keep 1. So really they can do whatever they want to here. They can come across the middle. And
entire field's open to
I
right
think
now.
so with 2 timeouts.
Especially on 2nd down and short.
Don't want to get sacked here. That's a big thing.
Burke.
Uh-oh.
Does just what you said. Stand in there a little too long. And now the Vikings will have to call timeout with 4 seconds. And that makes the field goal a whole lot longer for Love. He's got the leg. but it's still going to be a more difficult kick here because of the sack. Timely for Gaffney.
Be about 47 yards. Kicking from the 37, be about 47. I mean, you don't have time to run another play, I don't think. And then kicking, I mean, you can throw it to the end zone if you want to, but
both teams with one timeout remaining now, but it's of little consequence, as you said.
I would think they would keep the field goal.
You would,
because he does have the leg to get it there, and again, that's just adding 3 to that list.
Boy, you think about these 2 late first half possessions for Spartanburg, in which they really could have extended that lead, and it goes back to your key to the game. Gaffney has held to a couple of field goals potentially here, which has been difference making.
I think so. You know, you always, especially when you got it down at the 10. Again, that third down play was a big play and got him in a position, but the sack, I think he was trying to get the ball in the end zone on that and just held it maybe.
Difficult time. They were going to take a shot and then have
held it a second
opportunity. Here's a 47-yarder, as you said, for Will Love, who's already connected on one. The Eagles field goal challenge is back in effect. And whistles and a flag. He had the distance, as you know Will Love does, but this one won't matter. We'll reset, do it all again. Boy, a penalty here would be tough. If it's against Gaffney, it helps Slub a little bit.
Must be.
It looks like it's going to be. They're walking it off against the Indians. Well, you think about had that gone the other way, how tough Will Love's life would have become quickly with the sack followed by the penalty. But it's going to really take back what the sack cost Spartanburg.
Right. I tell you what, Nate, look at this. If you want to gamble, look over the tight end to the right. There's nobody playing pass. There's one here to Spartanburg's left. You see the man back there. But the right, you snap that ball, fake it, and throw it.
Well, you're hearing a coach talk. He's looking for every.
The reason I say that, Clover did that to us in a playoff game.
He's looking for every possible advantage. It's going to be put down at the 32 for a 42-yarder here. Plenty of leg. And Love punches it through. So the Vikings extend the lead to 27 in the closing seconds of the first half. Now, our officials are talking something over here at the 30, so we'll see if this sticks.
I think Clover did that against us in a third-round playoff game, or second round in 2007. And, I mean, it was a great call on their part, and we didn't defend it. And
it'll make you watch for it for a lifetime.
Oh, boy.
The Vikings are headed off the field. They believe they've secured another field goal to take it to 20-7. Gaffney's sticking around for now, hoping something positive is going to come out of the referee's mouth. It is going to be a motion penalty against Spartanburg, and they're calling the Vikings back. Boy, that's tough. So, think about the swings related to this field goal we've seen in the last several moments. Spartanburg in the driver's seat, you have the sack. It backs him up. Then you turn around, you have the Gaffney penalty. It inches him back nearly where he was. Now you're going to have a Spartanburg penalty, and Will Love is going to have to line up and try to put this thing through again.
And didn't he miss it the first time from the 37?
I think he had the distance, but was a little bit wide, it appeared, on that first one.
So that gave, again, that benefited Spartanburg, but Gaffney could have been out of it if they, again, penalties. I mean, this is what gets you. This is that example. You're giving people another opportunity. Are you taking points off the board for yourself?
Well, they've been stacked up right here in the final 4 seconds of the first half of late. But, we saw one that was a little wide on the other end of the field in the first quarter. So Will Love, usually money in these type of situations, will have to kick it again the right hash.
And it's well within his range.
Yeah, there's no doubt. He showed us in that Burns game on our air a few weeks ago. He's got the leg from 60. Let's see if he's got the accuracy this time. It's now going to be a 47-yarder again.
Back to 47.
And a little bit of trouble with the snap. And the penalty pays dividends for Gaffney. No points for the Vikings after all. As time runs out on the first half, it will sit steady at 17-7, and one look at Mark Hodge and his staff as they get ready to leave the field tells the story. What a momentum swing for a Gaffney team that will also get the football in the second half.
Exactly.
Entertaining first half of football here at Gaffney. Spartan High leading at 17-7. Vikings looking for a little more at the end of the half that didn't quite materialize, but much did for the Spartanburg Vikings. Let's take a look back at this first half of action. And Spartanburg showed you just how balanced they could be. A big touchdown catch for Justin Rice and a whole lot of Trenton Lynch as well.
Yeah, again, avoiding the first contact. Keep going. Great catch there for the touchdown. Coming across the middle, that's the Monty Means catch I referred to. That's a great play.
They call it the Justin Rice now here at Spartan High.
Right.
And here comes the good work of the Vikings on the ground. But Gaffney had an answer, Coach, and here was a fourth down conversion for the Indians.
Beautiful throw and catch, and then the run here. It's a game of big plays. Not a lot of big. This is a big play, and they ended up getting a field goal, but. It's a game of big plays, but not a lot of big plays.
The Shane Davidson touchdown for Gaffney on the fourth down play. You saw the Lynch TD, and then Gaffney had a little bit of a miscue toward the end, and Spartanburg with chances to add on. But the field goal, though it was good on the initial try, had a difficult snap, and Gaffney held Spartanburg steady at 17. When you look at the numbers from that first half, what do you come away with?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt Spartanburg, yardage-wise, totally dominated the game. Again, Gaffney inside the red zone has played well and held him that field goal instead of another touchdown. But Gaffney's got to, and Gaffney tried to work on running the football and ran it 4 or 5 straight plays, but just not a lot offensively there. They're going to need to take this kickoff and go down and get some points.
Let's see what. And Gaffney, they got some work to do. Northwestern's going to be in the mix. T.L. Hannah's going to be in the mix on the Division II side. But because they're going to split in two separate divisions, Greenwood's going to be in the mix. See, I left that there for you.
Exactly.
I knew you were going to have to say Greenwood.
Greenwood's going to be in the mix.
And you have to think these are two teams that believe they can play for a state title. And let's say we fast forward on down the line and they do that. The bragging rights on a year like this become even greater, and this is the only time they play. Will Love, as he has done, kicks it through the back of the end zone, and he ends up forcing a touchback. Here comes Gaffney. All right, what makes this drive so critical?
Well, again, I think they've got to establish some confidence in themselves. The stats at the end of the first half, they had to run long pass, so they got to get confidence, but they got to get the ball where certainly Spartanburg doesn't have a short field, and hopefully they can take it on in and score. Talking about playing, I got a story I want to share with you when we get a chance about two teams from the same area winning state championship.
Here comes the first down play for Gaffney to open the half, and they will turn to Jaden McDowell. You know, Jaden McDowell was keyed on by this Spartanburg defense in the first half. Gaffney's looking for him to break out and be a game changer here in the third.
I think so, and that's 5 yards or 4.5 on first down, and again, pretty good blocking, and had a chance to move it. Yeah, he needs to. He had 2 or 3 good runs, then he had that turnover, if I'm not mistaken, but. He's done some good things there. So
Javon Gilmore had the touchdown pass to Shane Davidson on the fourth down play, and he had a connection with Brady Smith that was memorable on a conversion. He turns to J. Marcus Smith here. Nice toss and catch up to the 34-yard line. All right, pay it off. Tell us about the two teams in the state championship.
1995. We win the state championship at Union. Spartanburg wins the state championship. At Spartanburg, we have
Doc Davis and company.
We have people calling us and Doc on Monday saying, we will give y'all X number of thousands of dollars if we can get y'all to play again and we can get the receipts. But we'll set it up because the league, of course, the league wouldn't let us do it.
But they wanted you to settle it.
They wanted the Spartanburg and Union to play again.
That's how passionate the football is in this
They were willing to pay big bucks. I mean, Doc and I both thought, hey, that'd be pretty good for our athletic departments. But high school league said no real quick.
These are two teams that could very well end with championships if all goes their way, but only one of them can come away with a victory here tonight. To that end, with a region title on the line, Gaffney to work with the first possession of the third, and that Spartanburg defense swallows up Gilmore.
Again, Gaffney's having a lot more success getting the ball out quick. Again, and I'm not sure that one maybe was to do that, and the guy was just covered. So it could be a lot of things involved, but when he can take it and throw it quick, but when he has to hold it, then the rush is getting to him. And they're bringing the outside backers and probably going a little man coverage with the outside backers coming. And but when he can, and the touchdown, they sprinted him out.
Corey Cheeks was the man on the scene that time around. They tried to sprint him out here. Gilmore has some room, and he'll find McDowell up near the marker. So there's the third down play Gaffney was looking for, but he might be just side. Let's see where they spot it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a little bit short, but this is decision time now. This is decision time. You're fourth and less than one.
Tone-setting drive of the third quarter to start it.
At your own 45.
And maybe not the case after all. Here's a flag down at around the 35, and it looks as if the Indians are going to be backed up here on the penalty.
Might have been a hold. I thought I saw to the right a possible hold.
So that negates the good work a moment ago. It is holding, and the Indians are back to the 25.
When he rolled out, and of course it was a drop back to begin with, and then he rolled. The defensive player saw that before the offensive player did. And I think the offensive lineman reached down and grabbed it.
So instead of 4th and 1, it is 3rd and a country mile. Gaffney needs the 45-yard line to move the chains. Gilmore steps up, tries to sling it, but it had too much underneath it for his intended target. He tried to come near side, was looking for Elijah Falls. Eli Falls was the intended target, but it was incomplete. Well, you said you had an A.L. Curtis story, too. I know fans are sitting on the edge of their seat.
Coach Curtis was a great guy, coach here at Gaffney. Gaffney job came open one year, late in the year. They offered the job to a very successful coach in the state who said, no, I can't leave my team. I can't leave my team. If you offer it to me next year, I'll take it. And Coach Curtis was named coach, and Gaffney won the state championship. So the guy never got the chance because Coach Curtis, they won a couple. But one of the great people in coaching in South Carolina was A.L. Curtis. Sang in the choir in Methodist Church, and just a top-notch man.
Yeah, did a great thing when he added another state championship to the total on the board here. And you talked about the type of individuals he was off the field. And let's say that about the two guys we have here tonight. You know, we travel around the Carolinas, get to meet these coaches in North Carolina and South Carolina year in and year out. They are always impressive. And tonight, with Dan Jones wrapping up his time from a regular season standpoint with the horses, many believe, to make a deep run again for Gaffney and perhaps add another. And on the other side, Mark Hodge and what he's built there at Spartanburg. He talked about the way this upperclassmen group, having gone through, you know, those COVID years and then the different setbacks because of the hurricanes on more than one occasion and the adjustments that have been made. And both of them creating and putting their fingerprints on even greater citizens than football players as they send them out into society. Two of the great ones here in the coaching ranks dueling it out tonight. And the Vikings go back to work midfield to the 49. You know, your story about A.L. Curtis, if you think about that window opening one time, isn't it so true of life in general that these windows open and they close, and you got to be sensitive in that moment.
And when they open, you walk through them.
Yep, absolutely.
And we've got a lot of great coaches in our state, a lot of great people. Chris Liner down at Greenwood is finally a young manager you'll ever meet. Same caliber as both of these, and just setting a tone. And we could go on and on.
Yeah, the list is endless when you talk about those.
Good people and good coaches.
That is well said.
And that's what we need in our state.
That's what it comes down to, because it's about what happens outside the white lines when you talk about growing these young men up into the type of individuals they're going to be in these communities for a lifetime. First down for the Vikings inside Gaffney territory at the 42. All right, you said the two most important drives, the first one for Gaffney and the response for Spartanburg. Here come the Vikings.
And have you noticed that Spartanburg's slowing it down just a little bit? I mean, they're not as quick.
A little more methodical.
As they were in the first time. Again, I think the score perhaps has a little to do with that. But I think they just realize how important this drive is, and want to try to get points on the board and probably try to get a touchdown if they can.
Very methodical approach for the Vikings to this point. Get one more look at how close this was to a connection. Going for Rice again, and that was just underneath it. Going to keep it on the ground this time, and there's Lynch, and he's inside the 37. But third down is coming, and it's looming large here.
I think Spartanburg's offensive line is doing a good job. I was trying to catch a check right quick. 55, I think, was a young man that was injured, and I don't know that he's back in yet.
Haven't seen the return.
I can't tell who the left tackle is now.
Seen the return of Travis Miller just yet. This is going to be kept on the ground, third down and 6. And maybe a yard or 2 in fourth down decision time for Spartanburg. You know, this is going to be at the 35, 36 yard line. You know, the kicker is as good as anyone in the state, but this is still some distance.
Now, it'll be a 53, 54 yard kick.
He put one of these through against Burns just a few weeks ago, and it appears as if Will Love is going to try another here. They're going to spot this down at the 43. You called it, Coach. A 53-yard try coming for Will Love.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting big league. But, I mean, you see this every day now in college. And so I'm sure Will's got the leg. It's
Ingles field goal challenge in effect. And
what in the world?
Just before the kick, a timeout was called by Spartanburg. So the Vikings burn one of those key second half timeouts with 7:08 to go in the third, and Spartanburg looking to add points. Less than a half hour away, and they look on as a fourth down decision is made. Now Spartanburg sent the kicking unit out with Will Love, but they now decide to put the offense on the field on fourth down. It's 4th and 4. You heard Coach allude to it.
Big play.
Maybe early in the third, but it is a big one. And it's caught, moved the chains, well designed and well executed, and finding his intended target on the far side. That was Zy Williams-Bond making the catch from Burke.
And that's an excellent throw. That's a long throw, right on the rope. He does a good job. The receiver positions himself like he's rebounding and gets his body between the defender, and that's a very fine execution. And that was a gutsy call, but it certainly worked.
Yeah, fresh set of downs for Spartanburg inside 6 minutes, third quarter. Up top. Battling for it down the sideline, and it looks like the pass interference is going to give the catch to the Vikings anyway, or at least the yardage. As it was again Zy Williams-Bond who was battling it out to make the catch. Boy, look at the valiant effort right here, Coach, on the boundary. Couple of ones.
Yeah.
He came down with the football. Obviously was out of bounds, but the officials right there to say why as they tossed the flags in.
I think he looked like he was pushing him. He was in good position, but then he had that outside arm. I think maybe his right, maybe his left, pushing him out of bounds. Okay, here we are again. We're inside the red zone.
First bank red zone opportunity for the Vikings. Last couple, you'll remember, held to a field goal at the end of the half and then a missed field goal to really close out the half. Here's another chance for the Vikings. Trying to create that separation from Gaffney. Lynch still weaving through traffic. He's inside the 10 to the 7.
Good hard run, good offensive line takeoff. Like I said, that may be a backup at left tackle. I'm not, again, I can't, my eyes aren't where they used to be, so I can't tell, but I don't think 55 is out there.
Well, we do have 55 back in the contest. It looks like that is Miller.
Okay,
who's
that's
here. Yep, he's on the right side closest to you.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
And then on the far side, you're looking at, Coach, you're talking about Howard, who is on the offensive line on the far side. And here's a rush to that side, and Gaffney's able to snuff this out. Well, 5:53 ticking downward. Here comes another third down.
Another third down in the red zone. And that was a nice play by Gaffney there. They ran to the football. They got good yardage on first down, but lost some there. So this is a big play. And, time is eventually going to become an issue because of Gaffney not being able to move it real well. So they can't really afford to give up a touchdown. At least I don't think they can.
Spartanburg trying again to put Gaffney at arm's length. That'll help. Nice toss. Yeah. Nice catch. Able to make the connection with Zeke Bell Boyd. And the Spartanburg Vikings hitting the junior wide receiver. have created the separation there. Take another look as they continue to gather up around 10 for the celebration.
And you know, you talk about the separation, and that's what it was on the pass route.
You got that right.
And then the post inside and came out and just got that separation, and that was a very well-designed play.
Some separation on the pass route on a 3rd down from inside the 10-yard line. Now some separation on the scoreboard for the Spartanburg Vikings. Spartanburg, the first to strike in the second half of action. And they take a 24-7 lead on Gaffney with this conversion from close proximity.
Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals. Well, folks, I'm standing here on the sideline with some of the gorgeous cheerleaders here at Gaffney High School. Ladies, on behalf of My 40 and Friday Night Rivals, we proudly present Charlotte Shea for $500.
Well, we do thank the folks at Gaffney High School. Always a joy to be here at Gaffney, and anytime we get these two together, Gaffney and Spartanburg. You know, you mentioned Malcolm Long, the athletic director here, works so closely with us, all the administrators. Todd Staley over at Spartanburg in that same role, who does such a nice job for the Vikings. Among our great friends in this world of high school athletics who make it possible for you to see games like this on Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. So a big thanks to both of them, their entire athletic staffs, to the coaches, Dan Jones and Mark Hodge. Boy, it's just something special about a Friday night with the bright lights on in the Carolinas.
Well, this is great. Todd Staley, what a great job he's done. And he's followed people like Ray Wilson and Miles Wilson, who for years and years did a great job. But Todd is really a good athletic director. He was honored by the South Carolina Coaches Association this year as our athletic director of the year.
Works so very well for Spartanburg High School and does so many things in the state. You said it. Big thank you to Todd Staley and the Vikings. Big thank you to Malcolm Long and the Gaffney Indians, and both these coaches, Dan Jones and Mark Hodge, for all they do on and off the field that is worthy of respect. All right, Coach. Gaffney finds itself.
Can I say one thing?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Mary and I are advocates for coaches in our state. And we've got great coaches, great athletes. We got good people. So I hope the people in South Carolina realize just how good of people we have teaching our young people, not only in football, but in many other sports.
5:22 left to go in the 3rd quarter. Well, I echo those sentiments. What makes this sport, these athletic departments, great? It's the people. And here's a nice toss down the near side. The flags will come out as he tried to make the connection. More than one occasion, they've tried to find Eli Falls. It won't happen here, but Gaffney's going to benefit from the flag, it would seem, Coach.
I think so, and it was a good call by the official, and you know, gives them some. Again, they're getting to the point where they, you know, it's basically a 3-score game now, so they've got to get some points on the board, and hopefully can this quarter, and you know, at least bring it a little bit closer. So that was a good way to start.
Yeah, quiet on the home side, something you don't usually experience here in Gaffney at the reservation, and certainly a sense of urgency now as the Indians put it on the ground. Jaden McDowell carries the ball up across the 35 to the 37. You know, if you say Spartanburg has done a nice job of taking something away, Jaden McDowell to some degree would be one of the things falling in that category.
Well, I think so. And the thing is, they've done a good job both against the run and the pass.
Yes.
They've been successful in. My goodness, we got.
Well, he's one of the reasons. The last thing you want to see for Spartanburg right now is guy down happens to be 22, Cam Smith, who's been so good. Give us a chance to remind fans, because if they weren't with us in the first half, they may not know. This is a Spartanburg defense that has been the headliner for this squad because it is nothing but senior leadership for the Vikings.
Exactly. 11 starters on defense that are seniors, and it shows. I mean, it's showing. You know, Gaffney is a much younger team. Spartanburg's got youth on offense as far as they're skilled athletes, but they're senior, and then they're senior offensive line too, with 4 of the 5. So they've got a lot of seniors in key spots on their team, and it's certainly paying off for them.
Here's Dan Jones gathering his team up around him on what is senior night here at Gaffney. Some of those families honored just a bit ago. But we got Cam Jones being tended to at the moment, or Cam Smith, I should say. We'll give you a check on him in just a moment. Spartanburg's Cam Smith up and off the field under his own power, and that's because fans in this state look forward to seeing him on a number of fronts. Certainly Spartanburg's expecting a deep run in the playoffs, and he'll also be a part of the Shrine Bowl.
Exactly. So we're glad to see him, and that's that's a big deal to South Carolina. We've done really well the last few years in the Shrine Bowl, and hopefully we'll be able to continue it. And that, of course, is the greatest honor that a high school player can get, but it's also a great honor for coaches.
And we've seen that from all sides on our air when the Tar Heels and the Sandlappers get together. And you think about what the Shrine Bowl has been. We had the opportunity to visit with some Shriners prior to the game tonight as they were handing out some awards to those selected to be in the Shrine Bowl. Put into words what it's like to be a part of the Shrine Bowl for those who've never experienced it, Coach.
Well, of course, I think the first thing you realize how fortunate you are when you have a chance to visit the Shriners Hospital and you see the commitment and the dedication and the hard work put forth.
Somehow caught.
Great play.
We'll hit the pause button just a moment because this is delivered in an area where Jamarcus Smith just makes a phenomenal catch. It looked as if Javon Gilmore was without a hope for the moment. Spartanburg had him covered up, and he just tossed it into right open real estate, and Jamarcus Smith saved the day with a first down.
I tell you, that was a great play. Quarterback showed a lot of strength there, not to go down, and the receiver kept running, and a big play. Now,
Gaffney has it on the Spartanburg side of the field, and you hear Coach asking for a little rhythm offensively on the Gaffney side. They're on the Spartanburg side of the field needing something as an answer. Break down this play for us again.
Again, the main thing is a lot of people would be down right there, and he just is strong enough to stay up. Receiver kept coming because it wasn't anywhere he could throw it but in that direction, so he kept coming all the way across, and just a great play by those two individuals.
Eddie Floyd III had him all but down. This is going to be tossed. There's that connection they've been trying for with Elijah Falls, and he's got it out near the 40. Gaffney's on the move a bit.
Second time they've run that. Sprint a little bit right and then throw the bubble screen back left. They had a lot of success with that once in the first time. So now they're starting to get a little bit of a rhythm, and if they can keep the rhythm, then they're going to be in a position where they'll go for it on fourth down, and if they don't make it on third, they're moving the ball a little bit now.
Time of factor, last few minutes of the third quarter. Here he is again, somehow getting away as Falls, and going to be about 3 yards shy, but he makes fourth down more manageable. As you said, it becomes decision time. You look up at the game clock now, 3:15 and ticking downward to play, as you get another glance at just how difficult it was to bring Elijah Falls to the ground.
I don't think there's really a decision here. They're bringing Zero back in. I remember one time they brought him in the first half and put him at H-back, and he came across. Now they've got him, it looks like maybe they're in an unbalanced line, I believe.
That is the Gaffney standout Andrew Root, known for his defensive impact. Snack going to be taken directly by the quarterback, Jamarcus Smith, and he goes over the left side for a much-needed Gaffney conversion.
Hard-nosed football, direct snap, run the ball behind your big people, and that's exactly what they were going to do. You see they've got 3 linemen on this side, they've got 0 on the other side, and then they got these 2 backs. Same formation. It's going to be the same play, I think.
Flag comes out. While they sort this out, we were talking about the Shrine Bowl just a moment ago, and you were mentioning just what an honor it is to be a part of that on either side of the line here in the Carolinas.
Exactly, and you see the work that the Shriners do, and you see the commitment of the young children that are trying to get better, and you see going to visit that hospital makes that whole week worthwhile. And you just come away just realizing that they're facing adversity, but they're facing adversity and they're dealing with it the way we all need to.
Shed Surratt of Gaffney, who's a part of this group, trying to make some space. And on the other side, Cam Smith trying to stop things for Spartanburg. Just to give you a window into it, will be Shrine Bowlers, assuming the playoffs go how they go. You know, you wait and see, but they've been selected to be together. They would be on the same unit in that scenario as we talk about some of the Shrine Bowlers on display here tonight. Second down coming And this is a big second down. Quick movement required by the Spartanburg D. And timeout's going to be called for now as it's taken by the Vikings. And that's Spartanburg's second time out. They'll only have one remaining for the fourth quarter now.
You know, Gaffney got the penalty, so it's 1st and 5, lined up in the same, jumbo formation, but went the other side, and just trying to keep them honest there. But they've got 3 downs to get 5 yards, and you know that's what they need. They just need to keep going, and they need to get 7 here, and then it's back to being a ball game.
Well, take us inside the huddle right here. Let's begin with Gaffney, who you're seeing on your screen. What's the conversation like amongst the Gaffney Indians here in this scenario, Coach?
Well, I think they're saying, look, we're second down. We got 5 to go. Number one, nothing negative. We can't have any negative play. We can't allow penetration. I think they'll run the ball here on second down. And they just talking about come off the football, be physical. You did it on first down. Let's do it again. Spartanburg, on the other hand, is saying, let's stop them on second down. Let's put them third and medium and make them have to maybe not have to throw the ball. And then we got a chance to get some pressure. So a lot of talking going on. But I think Gaffney looks like they're coming out maybe in that same. This is a set that they ran on first and second down.
It's going to be second down here. Gaffney trying to get the officials to allow them to go ahead and run the play, but waiting for Spartanburg to substitute, as is customary. Now it's blown into action. 1:47 to play third quarter. It's about touchdowns for the Gaffney Indians right now. Let's see what they decide to go with here. This said it.
This is the same play they ran. And again, I mean, they're in 4-down territory, so that wasn't a bad play. I mean, he didn't break through, but it wasn't that bad of a play.
Third down is coming now from about 2 yards away with 90 seconds remaining in the third quarter. And the Vikings still in that Gaffney backfield here as they try to get everybody lined up.
Yeah.
Here's another look at what happened at the very end.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a little extracurricular activity between these two sets of colors.
Exactly. And, you know, officials, I think, were smart there in not throwing a flag.
Officials were able to
same set.
Sort that out without it affecting the game flow. Third down coming. Well, now whistles blown and flags fly ahead of the third down play.
Yeah. And again, it looked like he was off. Maybe Spartanburg might have been offside. Yeah. And so this is first down. Now they got that first.
Moves the chains. How about what Jamarcus Smith has been doing here in this package for Dan Jones and company in this quarterback slot?
Well, you know, he's running hard, and they found a little bit of something that's working for him. Now I think they've gone back regular now. They're back to, you know, 5 linemen, 2 on either side of the center. But they're now in the red zone, so they've got to score a touchdown. Spartanburg's got to make them kick a field goal.
Yeah, it's Gilmore back in that spot now. For Gaffney, it's all about touchdowns as they try to claw back late third. Gilmore looking, sees some open real estate, but it closes quickly, and he just gets to the 15. How about the open field speed on display by C.J. Woodruff, who got there quick?
Woodruff is a really good player, and like I said, he was one of the leading tacklers after 5 or 6 games this year, and that was a good tackle. I mean, he didn't get him down immediately, but he got there, he cut down being a big play, and it could have been a big play. You
mentioned it's a First Bank red zone opportunity of consequence for Gaffney in the final seconds of the third, and that will bring this third quarter to a halt. Big time sack for Spartanburg. We've called his name on both sides time and again for the Vikings. Calvin Choice, and it's Spartanburg with the lead through 3. Since it was 7-7 early, Coach, has held Gaffney at arm's length.
And this is very important. I think Gaffney is probably thinking 2 downs here. You know, 24-10, it does make it a 2-score game if they could do that. But I think they probably feel like they may need to get a touchdown here unless they just have a real negative play. If they can get any kind of positive play here, I got a good feeling they might go for the touchdown.
Well, Gaffney needing multiple scores here as the fourth quarter is set to begin. 12 minutes left to settle the region title in Region 2 5A between the Spartanburg Vikings, the visitors in the white on the right side of your screen, and the Gaffney Indians in that trademark black. And Gaffney to the air. Had a touchdown this way earlier. Somehow they find another. This may be as improbable as the initial fourth down catch a little bit earlier by Shane Davidson. But Gilmore to Davidson has been the connection tonight for Gaffney, and the Indians find the end zone once more.
And it almost looked like, again, I hadn't seen the replay, but almost looked like it went through the hands of the defender.
You thought for a moment when he got in behind the defender, it was going to be an easy touchdown toss for Gaffney. Then it looked like, I'm with you, it was going to be picked off.
Yeah.
And somehow it breaks through and into Davidson's hands.
So, you know, that's a big, big score. You know, they're right back in the oops.
A little bit of trouble on the snap and nowhere to run this time around. So it'll sit at 24-13. But Gaffney finds a touchdown to open the fourth period. This one not over just yet.
Yeah.
Touchdowns for Gaffney tonight. They've been memorable. Same guy both times. And how about the adjustment made here?
Yeah. Again, it was a really good throw because it just went over the defender's hands. I thought at first it might have gone through his hands, but I don't think it did. It looked like it might have gone over him, but it was a really good throw and a good catch. And that boy keeps scoring touchdowns when he catches passes.
I'm going to tell you, Shane Davidson has been impressive tonight. That guy has made his mark. And Gilmore, a couple of tosses that have gone that way. And they've been in must-have-it moments. Remember, that was a fourth down they scored on earlier in the game. And Davidson getting the job done here. Yes, it was third, but that was going to make a pressure-packed fourth had it not taken place. Here's Spartanburg's return, and the gentleman who has been as prolific as anybody else. You know, you make a case that Lynch has had his number and his name called time and again, but boy, has Justin Rice been a factor.
Done a great job, yes.
And he returns this up near midfield.
Done a great job.
.46 to go. An important drive coming up for Spartanburg as Gaffney is within a couple of scores. Work to do there now for the Indians, as they would need to get the football back from the Vikings here. And time is a factor.
I would think Spartanburg may turn it over to the offensive line here if they possibly can and try to milk the clock plus get good yards. Of course, they got a bunch there. But
well, they make some room for Sutton far side. He's up across midfield. Let's see where they say he stepped out of bounds. Looks like this is going to carry Spartanburg into Gaffney territory.
First down. But they got 4 seniors on that offensive line, and now's a good time to, you know, you want to score, but you also want to eat as much clock as you can. And let's see.
The heroes up front making plenty of space for Trenton Lynch, who comes near side. Flag comes in as Lynch cuts back at the 35. He made it to the 31, but where that flag came in, you usually see it going the other direction.
Yeah, I think maybe the wide receiver, number 1, seems to be awfully upset, so I think called holding on him.
Yeah, there is your holding call.
On the perimeter.
That'll negate that run for Spartanburg. Looks like there's player down being tended to a member of that Gaffney secondary, perhaps.
We've had a couple that, you know, gone down and then gotten up and gotten back in the game. But and again, the thing you probably don't realize either is all of a sudden cramps may come back into the picture. As warm as it is.
Not your normal November night.
No, you don't normally worry about cramps, but there's been so much with, you know, time with the storm and then having to play a lot of games, and so not quite as much practice time. That can become a factor.
Warm night, right in the 70-degree range tonight in Gaffney. And
nice.
Lynch, boy, open field tackle of beauty.
Great tackle. Great tackle.
That was Amari Foster Boyd who comes in there and makes the stop. Amari Foster Boyd, the strong safety for Gaffney, with an important tackle. 11 and change remaining. Gaffney having just scored, and Spartanburg at midfield. Vikings have enjoyed a little arm's length from Gaffney since the middle stages of the first.
Nice throw.
Boy, well run route, and you said it. Trey Burke's delivery was on the money to move the chains.
I tell you what, he's been very impressive. Burke has, and he's just a junior.
He's a junior that has matured. Mark Hodge was saying, before their very eyes this year, and well, the more confidence that they have in him with the defense they have and the running game that's available, makes Spartanburg complete. Toss near side. Sutton going to be stacked up and turned around.
They're really running that little toss, what we used to years ago call a quick pitch type thing, but they've run that 5 or 6 times now. And what that does, of course, is where they make them have to run east to west as far as the defensive line, but they didn't get there what they've been getting.
Down to 10 minutes remaining. Spartanburg still marching. Sutton, boy, he's met immediately and somehow falls forward for about 1.5 yards.
15, I think, made a really good play.
That was Zion Ratchford who came in there and did so. Boy, talk about locked in. Can you step inside the mind for just a moment of Mark Hodge? Trying to do something he's been trying to do. Come to Gaffney with an experienced group and escape the reservation with a victory. His team in a prime spot now, inside 9.5 play. Burke, another slant, in and out of the hands of his target.
That was close. I mean, I think it probably wasn't interference, but it was close.
Bell Boyd was the
so it was good coverage.
Yep, it's always a fine line, Coach.
It was good coverage.
Bell Boyd was the intended target for Spartanburg. Mark Hodge talking about the amount of respect he had for Dan Jones and what it would mean for his team to kind of come out on top in this one. And you also think about what you're trying to do now, and he made a great point. He said you're trying to win back-to-back games because that's what you're going to have to do in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And you're trying to string them together the way you're going to need to in that pursuit of a championship. He's got a great kicker. Going to try a 51-yarder here with the Ingles field goal challenge in effect. The leg, plenty strong enough, but the kick is wide. Well, no question about Will Love's leg strength, but he's just a bit wide for this occasion, and it'll stay at 24-13. Boy, a field goal that was a tough snap at the end of the half. One early in the game that was wide. One here in the fourth that is wide, and the door stays cracked. The door stays cracked for the Gaffney Indians for now.
And Gaffney's got to have some confidence right now. If they take it down and get points here, I think Gaffney, time is as big. I mean, they want to score as quick as they can, but at the same time, they're not going to rush.
Little reverse for the Indians, back to the flea flicker notion. And Gaffney with a little trickery, but it's going to be picked off downfield. Spartanburg with the takeaway of the night as Quincy Haywood II, one of the many seniors on the Spartanburg D, comes away with the football.
That was really smart. I mean, I think that was a guy who originally had the ball and just came on up the sideline here. So that was good coverage.
You see the very end of this after Gaffney had seen most of the playmakers touch it in the black field. They were trying to come down the near side, but Quincy Haywood not fooled for the Spartanburg Vikings, and it'll be Viking football.
Let's see what they call.
But coming up big.
Yeah.
For the Spartanburg Vikings. Here comes that call on the flag at the end of it. Unsportsmanlike against the Vikings. Boy, talk about taking a great moment and putting a little bit of a damper on it. The Vikings got to be backed up just a bit. But the most important thing, Coach, Spartanburg now has the football.
Right, and it's going to be 2 or 3 minutes less on that clock, more than likely when they give it up, even if they don't score.
Gaffney unable to do anything with the momentum of the missed field goal there as well. And we'll see if Spartanburg can try to salt away the win of the season and a region championship to boot. And flags again, or at least stoppage here. Let's see, they're going to stop it before the first down play begins things. Worth reminding everybody, this is Spartanburg team, just a single loss to the current dynasty in South Carolina. This is a Gaffney team, just a single loss. One of their rivals, the Norman Cavaliers, coming over and getting the job done. And because of that, they are playing for the region tonight.
And both teams have had really good years. Each one of them will only have 9 regular season games.
And both of them are going to be high seeds in the playoffs.
And Gaffney just jumped off side.
Yes, they did. They're going to walk this off. Both of them will have high seeds in the playoffs. Both of them expect to have home opportunities in the playoffs. And both of them are, top 10 in the state, going to be factored in as the favorites to make deep runs into the postseason.
I think the prediction is Gaffney will be 3rd.
In Division 2.
Northwestern 1, Hannah 2, Gaffney 3, Greenwood 4, I think is what I've been told.
And you can really take that tier of teams in that Division 2 situation and say there are your 4 solid teams in the upstate.
I would think so.
Spartanburg is going to have to obviously work their way through. As we said, that Dutch Fork team they've already seen once. And that's going to be a factor in the Division 1 ranks. You see Dan Jones coming out there. Here's Mark Hodge. Mark Hodge said he liked playing Dutch Fork in the regular season. So we got a player down on that far side. Let's see if we can get an indicator on who that is. And then we'll try to pass along good news for you, hopefully, on that front. He said he liked having that Dutch Fork game because you get to gauge where you are, you gauge where they are, and you bank away some knowledge for the future if you're going to see them again. That would be quite an upper state championship game if it materializes.
29, but he's okay.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's fine. That's Daquan Broger, who's made a couple of nice plays tonight for the Gaffney Indians. Limping just a bit, but he's coming across as if he's going to be able to continue. But yeah, just a little window into the postseason and what's out there. And it's crazy to think it all starts next week.
Oh my goodness, I know it. And you got some buys too. Those 4 that we just mentioned,
they'll wait.
Should all get a buy.
Yep, they'll wait.
So they've got a chance if they've got some injuries and this type thing. They'll have some time to hopefully let it get well.
And keep in mind, in both states, in South Carolina and in North Carolina, the state championships backed up a week. So now it'll be the 2nd weekend of December for South Carolina championships, the 3rd weekend in December for North Carolina championships. Lynch's Spartanburg tries to begin to salt it away. Positive gain here. And we should say, all those games, South Carolina state championships, North Carolina state championships, will be on our air. We'll have them
on the
Sinclair family of networks from Orangeburg in the case of the South Carolina title games, and from Chapel Hill and Raleigh in the case of the North Carolina games. It'll be a Merry Christmas in the Carolinas filled with football.
A lot of football.
All right, 8-10 and ticking downward to go. 3rd down play coming for Spartanburg, and it's a must stop right now for Gaffney.
I think if Spartanburg gets a 1st down here, is
going to get tough. Indians will stop it.
Nice defense.
Big hit, and yep, he was able to continue and makes his mark. You think about that defensive side of things, and there's Kendarius Bailey who steps in there and makes this play for the Gaffney Indians. And Spartanburg now sending the kicking unit on. And this one not settled just yet.
Not yet. That was good on Gaffney's point to not let him get a first and make him give them. They still almost the same situation they were before the flea flicker. They've still got. Ooh.
Boy, that was close.
Almost.
Maybe even a little better field position depending upon the return. It's going to be caught at the 30, and that's where Gaffney will take over. All right, Coach, let's reset for everybody. 24-13, 7 and change to go. Gaffney football down 11.
Gaffney's got to score twice. I mean, it's a 2-score game with a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal. So, they've got to begin to feel a little sense of urgency. Again, they can run the ball, but they're going to have to convert, I think, some big plays here. Get some, and I'm talking about 15-yard passes, this type thing, to try to get some chunk yardage if they possibly can.
Little toss for Gaffney to get up. Yep, there's a start for the Indians up near midfield. That's Elijah Falls again. Eli Falls.
They got 14 there.
You can move the chains.
Yeah. They got, again, when he gets the ball and gets it out of his hands quick, they're much more effective. They're much more effective then.
All right, working up near that Gaffney logo at midfield. Trademark G with the feathers off the left side. First down as he gives off to Jaden McDowell. And McDowell, now would be the time for Gaffney to get him working for sure. He's up near midfield at the 50.
Got about 6 there.
7 minutes, 1 second, and he's out of bounds to stop the clock.
And Gaffney's got 3 timeouts, so that's they won't use them now, but they'll have them to use if they're able to score. Then they'll have them use them
defensively. Make sure you do get the football back if you can stop. That's for sure. Spartanburg not quite able to put the finishing touches on this one just yet.
No, Gaffney's hanging tough.
Toss.
Nice.
Inside the 40, still up at the 34. And the Indians are going to move the chains again. Boy, Eli Falls has become a favorite target here in this second half. And boy, has it paid off for Gaffney.
I think Gaffney, the last time they had it, and I think it was a good call, the double reverse pass and trying to get the chunk change, get it all at one time. And that was, in that situation, that was a good call. It just, Spartanburg played it well. Here they're getting a
deep shot for Gaffney and cutting toward the goal line, but it falls at his feet and incomplete was the wide out for the Indians. Tried to get it to Jamarcus Smith, but it's just out of his grasp.
Went back to trying to get the big play. Now I would think they would come back again. They've had a lot of success throwing the ball 5 yards. Receiver getting 5 or 10 more with it. They've had success doing that. Again, this is where you worry about because they've been sacked in this situation. So I hope and I would think they would go ahead and try to do something maybe to the wide side here, get the ball out quick.
6:33, still an eternity in this sport as Gaffney goes to work on second down. Another deep shot. Same song, third verse. Same song, third verse. Another dose of Shane Davidson, and Gaffney is a little closer.
I tell you what, I did mention him before the game. He's unbelievable.
A little bit of her prediction from Coach Dula. Now, wait a minute.
I think they're saying, I thought he scored.
Yeah, no, they are lining up for the extra point. As the Indians have put it in the end zone.
But they may need to go.
3 big plays between Gilmore and Davidson for Gaffney. And the Indians now are going to send their 2-point unit on to try to get within a field goal.
I think they will here. Extra point.
Well, you know, when I'm working with Eddie Muldrow many times state championships, he pulls the coach's card out of his back pocket that tells you what to do. Are you carrying that with you tonight, Coach?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think.
Here's a 2-point try. Just lofted out. It's going to be picked off. It's of little consequence the other way, but it will turn Gaffney's opportunity to tie it with a field goal aside.
Right.
Indians would need a touchdown.
But if they'd gone for 1, they couldn't tie it.
Exactly. Had to have the 2-point conversion.
I think that was, and they were trying to.
Here is one more look at the latest in a trio.
Got that foot down right.
Well, a little closer, 24-19 on the scoreboard, and right now a hush having fallen here in Cherokee County over the stadium because another injured player is being tended to by the training staff. Coming off the backside of that 2-point play. Certainly beginning to see plenty of movement there, which is a good sign. We hope to have a full positive report to pass along. Coach, you were talking about that 2-point conversion. You really believe that was the right call?
Yeah,
had to be there because you give yourself a chance with the field goal.
I think so. I think that was definitely the right call. And I thought the play selection was good. It just didn't quite get it far enough.
That was Quincy Haywood II. Now remember, he came away, picked that off on the 2-point conversion. It was Haywood who picked off the little trickery Gaffney was trying to run a little earlier. So a couple of big moments for him.
But what's happened now for the first time in the game, really, a little bit of pressure on Spartanburg. Because Spartanburg scored. First quarter is not that much pressure. Now, all of a sudden, they've scored 2 in a row. They're within a touchdown of winning, of getting the lead. And so you got a little pressure coming to Spartanburg now.
Vikings on the return. Here's the 15-yard line.
And I would think they would handle that pressure well.
Here's Choice, no doubt about it, this experienced unit up to the 30. You know, you say this for Spartanburg, the one thing they have to do is erase the memory of what might have been. They can look across several opportunities they had maybe to create a little further separation from Gaffney. It didn't happen, but now you lock in on 6:17 to play in a one-possession game. This is South Carolina high school football at its finest.
I guarantee you it is. This is what it comes down to. It's a couple of possessions, and you know, again, Spartanburg would love to be able to run the football and get some first down. But Gaffney hadn't let them do it the last 2 times they've had it.
Can the Vikings salt away a 5-point advantage? Gaffney's defense stands tall on the opening snap of this drive. Well, let's say it this way before we get too deep into this thing. What a classic to end our Friday Night Rivals football season here in the fall of 2024. Could not have a better finish to what has been a memorable season. We're glad you decided to journey through it with us on WLOS, WMYA, and Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. 2nd down. Going to keep it and now toss it over the middle. Nearly picked off, and it falls to the turf harmlessly and incomplete. Well, for a moment, Peyton Jones had a mind toward a game changer.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure. 17's having to get up. I think, again, it might have been a run-pass option, and he tried to hit the slant, which has been very, very good to him.
Well, look at how close this was.
But he got, the reason you saw how the ball was wobbling, he got hit and close to an interception. You're absolutely right.
We suffice it to say, Coach, both of the lines, defensive lines tonight, they have been catalysts for what has happened in this one, providing pressure up front.
And that's the way it's been for him. But
plenty of energy on the home side as Burke drops back, hits his man Williams Bond. But Gaffney is going to stop this well short.
Really?
About 5 yards short with 4th down coming.
Really good defense there. I thought it looked like it was going to be a little bit more open. And Gaffney converged real quick. They got to punt the ball here.
Home team has turned the tide. You know, this is visions in many ways of what we were talking about the old place, right? And
exactly.
Some of the history rising up for a Gaffney team that has willed itself back into this one with 5 minutes to play.
They got 12 people on the field. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You thought you saw too many stacked up there, right? Return man is back at the 34. And this is kicked right into a Gaffney player. It's going to be scooped up at the 10. Not quite. Finally fallen on. And the Indians are going to have it. 1st and goal from the 5, looking for their first lead of the night. What a turn of events here at the reservation in Cherokee County.
I'll tell you what, I mean, they were all, they've been close a couple of times, and they were there then, and he had the ball down low, and the ball never got any height on it.
A line drive kick that went right into a Gaffney player. A sideline warning is going to be assessed after this. The football fallen on by Chaz Smith for Gaffney, and the Indians are going to have it following the sideline warning at the 11-yard line. That's where they're going to say possession was ultimately gained. And you talk about injecting some life into one of the historic locations and rowdy stadiums in all of the Palmetto State. The Indians fans on the near side alive and well now.
And you can tell that Gaffney was very well coached in the fact that they tried to scoop it because it's going to be their ball. And the only way it wouldn't be their ball is if they got possession, ran, tackled, and then fumbled. So they were trying to scoop it there a couple of times to maybe take it in.
Going to be a handoff. McDowell is down to the 8-yard line as Javon Gilmore gives off to Jaden McDowell. And now, in many ways, Coach, as you go back to that red zone scenario that you've talked about all night, it becomes a time equation as well, as Gaffney sees more and more of Spartanburg's opportunity to respond, roll off that clock. And one thing I'll tuck away in the back of your mind as well is Gaffney gives it off. Here's McDowell, and he's stacked up again at the 8. Remember, Spartanburg had to burn 2 timeouts in this third quarter. They've got 1 remaining. 4:05 to play, and downward it goes. But you remember, Gaffney has to have a touchdown here, and it's third down.
Field goal, I don't think does him, I guess it does them some good because it's a 2-point game. But again, they're kicking. Remember, they had PAT and.
You've got to factor as well. Are you certain you'll get the football back?
Well,
they do have the 3 timeouts, but boy, that's why the coaches. You don't envy them on a moment like this.
They're earning their money right now.
3.5 to play. Here's Gaffney on third down. Little delay, and nothing there for Jamarcus Smith. And what can you say about the way this Spartanburg defense has risen up in this moment?
And 4th and 4. Doesn't look like there's any movement for the field goal.
3 and 10. Downward it ticks second by second toward the closure of what is the region championship game between Gaffney and Spartanburg.
They probably need to go ahead and let it get all the way down, because if they do score, then they're taking time away from them. Of course, bottom line is if they don't score, they're also wasting time that they might could get the ball back. But
Gaffney's going to run it all the way down and take a timeout. They feel like they're in the position to win the game right now. Now, if it doesn't happen, you only have 2 timeouts left now with which to stop the clock in order to try to get it back from Spartanburg. But the Vikings only have 1. But the most important thing right now is that you have the play you want in this scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And they got a situation where they ran that time down 18 seconds. And that's 18 seconds. If Gaffney's able to score, that's 18 seconds Spartanburg don't have. Same token, though, if they don't score, that's 18 seconds they don't have. So, plus they've used the timeout. But I think that was a good move, and we'll see what happens. They're putting it all on this play, and this since August or since June, they've been working every day, and they've got a play that they really, really feel good about in a goal line situation. They've been running it and executing it now for several months, and this is what they're going to run, the play that they really believe in right now.
This may be the play that settles the region championship. 4th down for Gaffney, and a little toss to the end zone. It's worked all night. One more time. This time incomplete. Spartanburg able to utilize the back boundary and make sure Gaffney was unable to get the catch secured and the foot down, and the Indians are turned aside at the goal line. Well, it's worth another look, Coach. All 3 of Gaffney's touchdowns were this connection. Did he get a foot down for a 4th? Boy, so close. As you see that left foot make contact with the turf.
That was close.
Well, how about that Spartanburg defense right there? All the momentum was with Gaffney. The Indians had a head of steam, and Spartanburg, the defense being the headliner, that group of seniors all year for the Vikings, stiffened its neck and said, not yet.
Red zone. Now, this is a part of football that most people don't know about. You know about the 2-minute drill. Now you got what's called a 4-minute drill. And what Spartanburg wants to do, and I hate to, what Spartanburg wants to do is not give the ball back again. Don't go out of bounds. Stay in bounds. Run the football. And it's just 4 minutes that you just get 2 or 3 first downs, and you put it away without them getting it back.
Spartanburg having to do it in the shadow of their own goal line here, though.
Exactly.
And 2nd down 8 coming as Gaffney's defense has a chance to make its statement. Two timeouts for Gaffney, 1 timeout for Spartanburg, 2 minutes and change to play. And little room is all up near the 10-yard line. Here comes 3rd down and about 5.
There's a timeout.
We've seen in this rivalry over the years that even when it's over, it's not over. Who can forget an upper state championship fight at the reservation where the kneel-down play was not executed, and it resulted in one team stealing a game away from another. So this rivalry that over the years has had it all comes down to this stand with a region title on the line. All right, Coach, I've asked you to do it a couple of times tonight, but take us inside the huddle. Let's begin with Spartanburg. What's the conversation like right now on 3rd and 6?
I think Spartanburg really feels like they've got to get a first down here. again, the momentum's with Gaffney. They need to get a first down. They tried to run it twice. They didn't get much. I think they'll throw the football. I think they'll try to throw the slant route. And, you know, if it's incomplete, people will say, well, you should have run it and made them use it last time out. But I think here you need to be aggressive. You need to go for it. You need to not sit back and wait, but you got to be aggressive.
You think it was worth the price of admission tonight?
Oh, I think so.
Fans are certainly getting what they had hoped for in this region championship game between the Indians and the Vikings. It is Spartanburg football, backed up inside the 10, 3rd down and 6. Gaffney trailing by 5.
Yeah, Gaffney's just going to do, I mean, they're going to come hard and they may run it, but I really think they may throw it.
Trey Burke going to turn and give it off. And Gaffney was there, met and turned aside by C. Well, let's see who makes sure it's Bailey who gets in there. It's going to be Bailey who gets in there to make the stop. Kendarius Bailey, and 4th down is coming. All right, reset it all. Gaffney makes this stop on 3rd down.
And it's a back. So again, if you run into zone read out of that, the quarterback's reading the man that made the tackle. And when he comes like that, but, you know, as good as Spartanburg's quarterback is, he's not a running threat.
Bailey off the side like he was shot out of a cannon. Gaffney turns aside the 3rd down play. It is now 4th and 6. Remember, the last time Spartanburg tried to punt the football,
they blocked the punt.
It ended up rattling around on the ground, and Gaffney recovered to give themselves the last chance to take the lead. Indians, even if it's kicked away clean, they're going to have about a minute and a half to work with.
They got plenty of time with the way the quarterback throws it, the receivers they have.
Just burned their last time out. Keep that in mind.
They want to be careful here because they don't want to rough the kicker. But
that would effectively end the ball game.
But as good as this guy kicks the ball, I think they're going to put pressure on him, but I don't think they'll have an all-out, 10-man rush.
Gaffney return man is on the Spartanburg side of the 50 at the 45.
And a minute 53 is plenty of time.
Vikings kicking from their own end zone. The bus into the field here at the reservation, and this is a booming kick. Backing up onto his own side of the 50 is the return man. Splits the gap to the 46, so you've got 46 yards separating Gaffney from the lead with 1:44 to play.
I mean, they've got plenty of time. They've got opportunities. Clock's going to stop when they get a 1st down. Again, they just need to come out and get a good 1st down play and keep on, just make good, smart decisions.
1 timeout remains, and it's in Spartanburg's back pocket. Gaffney used theirs to get the football back. So the 1:44 you see, all that the Indians have to work with as they go to work. And folks, this is what championship football is all about. A region title on the line between Gaffney and Spartanburg, and the home team has it at the 46. Elusive inside the 40 and down to the 39 goes Gilmore.
Still got plenty of time. I mean, they don't have to clock it. They'll call a play.
Sense of urgency, but no panic with 1:28 to play.
I think you're right. Know where 4 is. I guarantee you I know where he is.
He has all 3 Gaffney touchdowns tonight. They went for the one that would have matched his jersey number and given Gaffney the lead, but he was just out of bounds on the last possession. This is incomplete. Stops the clock. Now it's about making sure you convert 3rd and a couple.
You got to get the 1st. And again, even if you run it here and you get the 1st, the clock's going to stop. And when the clock stops, you got time to get set.
Jaden McDowell is in the backfield to that end when you talk about a ground threat. So along with Gilmore.
Anything's available here. Whatever they feel good about is available.
Spartanburg front is their strength, and they keyed on him tonight. Going to be the quarterback calling his own number. Gilmore slides down. That will stop to move the chains.
Nice call. Nice call.
1:14 to go now. Gaffney on the march, and fans on both sides holding their breath in this all-time rivalry. Another classic between these two. Toss over the middle, in and out of the hands of his intended target. You heard Coach. He's rooting for both these teams to execute, and every time it gets that close, the reaction tells the story. That was Chaz Smith, incomplete.
Just a little bit behind him on the back shoulder. Good route, good coverage. Yeah, I mean, you just want to see kids play well and execute. And
every night, all we want is for it to come down to the last snap.
And that's what's happening.
Getting just that tonight. Second down, Gaffney. Toss over the middle, and the flags are going to come out as Quincy Haywood, the second, who's done such good work for Spartanburg tonight, arrived just a bit early, perhaps.
Good call, he was early. That was a good call.
He was in coverage. Peyton Jones back there as well. Here's another look as the bodies get tangled up and the flags come in. Well, that's going to put Gaffney even closer.
That's a 20.
And there is 1 minute on the button remaining in this football game, with 5 points separating these two all-time rivals.
And one thing sure, if the ball stays in this play on the field, there's got to be a sense of urgency. If they don't score, they don't get a first down, then they've got to move.
Here's Gilmore. He's going to sling it out near the sideline. That's caught and able to get out of bounds.
But they were that close to being sacked.
Just able to get it out of there and into the hands of J. Marcus Smith. Worth another look as Gaffney inches closer.
I mean, football's a game of inches, and the quarterback, I mean, he stood in there and made a good throw before Spartanburg.
The latest Gaffney Spartanburg chapter for the region in the fall of 2024. 55 seconds and the clock stops. Second down and short, but it's more about the end zone and the time right now. Screen. Inside the 10, all the way down to the 5. J. Marcus Smith again.
Now they should be able. They got a good chance to get 4 plays, even if they run it one play, but I don't know that they will.
Clock stop.
But they could.
51 seconds. First and goal. Gaffney down 5. Trying to snatch away the region title here at home.
4 is wide over there, but they're throwing more to the right than the left.
So it's referencing Davidson, who has all 3 Gaffney touchdowns tonight.
And there's the run we talked
Here's
about.
Jaden McDowell, and he finds enough space to turn the corner and give Gaffney the lead with 45 seconds to play in the region championship game here at the reservation.
You knew there was a chance they could run the football there. Even if he doesn't get in, they got enough time.
And Jaden McDowell, hemmed up by Spartanburg's defense the majority of the night, brings them to their feet as he gives Gaffney its first lead of the evening at 25-24 with 45 seconds to play. And this is to go up 3.
They'll go for 2
and with Spartanburg's talented kicker, this means a whole bunch,
It
Coach.
really does, because, again, Gaffney's kickoffs aren't that deep. So Spartanburg.
And Will Love can kick them from 50 plus.
So this is a big play here. I wouldn't celebrate too fast.
Flags before the play is off. A huge 2-point conversion on the horizon.
Is that Spartanburg too many men in the field? I think,
Well, Gaffney's going to put that big package in
the
again.
Jumbo crowd in.
Yep, with Roop now rushing on once they inch themselves a little closer to the goal line for the 2-point conversion.
They've had a lot of success, probably more success to the left than to the right.
And fans will underscore it as Dan Jones and his staff look on in what is his final regular season home game as the winningest head coach in Gaffney history in terms of overall victories. This is huge with Spartanburg's kicking game so solid. And the Indians will maximize it with the 2-point conversion. They line up behind the big boys. Always their trademark here in Cherokee County. And they have a 3-point advantage to protect them from losing on a Will Love field goal. Here's the touchdown that put the Indians ahead. It was the first on the ground tonight for Gaffney.
That's a good play.
And Jaden McDowell, who the storied head coach Dan Jones of the Gaffney Indians talked to us about pregame, has the consequential impact of the night thus far.
And it was good blocking on the perimeter. They had two wideouts over there. He just sort of walked it on in.
Got a player down that's being tended to here. And the good news we can share with you tonight is we've seen a lot of this, but almost every occasion so far, at least. Nothing that has lingered and kept players from being able to continue. All right, a completely different scenario in effect at Gaffney. Indians out front for the first time with under a minute to play. Well, it was 7-7 early, and then Spartanburg pulled away a bit. Couldn't quite capitalize on putting Gaffney away. Jaden McDowell just ran for his first touchdown of the night. In doing so, he has put the Indians out front 27-24 with the two-point conversion good to follow. And now it's, can Spartanburg either get Will Love in range to kick it and extend this football game, or can they come up with something even more magical to claim the region title? Gaffney set to kick it away. And this is going to be fielded at around the 17. The return by choice
big play
to the 23, and an open field tackle that they will stand and applaud here in Cherokee County.
Big. That was a great tackle, great coverage. Young man did a good job of kicking it. And, you know, he's evidently he was trying to get up the wall, maybe to the far side, or at least get on the sideline. That was a great play, because if he doesn't tackle him, then there's a chance that could be a little bit bigger play.
Zion Ratchford in a good spot. 40 seconds for Spartanburg. They're separated by 76 yards from the end zone, but much less than that to get Will Love in field goal range, who's one of the great kickers in the Palmetto State. Tough night for him at times tonight, but he has more than the leg, and there's a step in that direction. If it's caught, they're going to say incomplete. It hit the turf. 33 seconds to play.
I mean, the quarterback's hoping would like to see a shot to the head call there. That was, and I'm not sure if it was, but it was a lot of pressure. And that's they've got to get probably about to the 35. So they've got about 40 yards they've got to pick up.
And 33 seconds with which to cover it. One timeout left. It does belong to the Vikings. And it's underneath, and another big-time tackle.
They're going to have to call that time
in open real estate. Look, that was Ratchford again, who ended up wrestling the ball carrier to the ground. What he has done in open space, huge for the Indians.
And they used the timeout.
Had to use it.
Had to.
Don't have it to stop the clock now and set up the field goal. You've got to get something out of bounds or run him on quickly. Things just got a lot tougher for Spartanburg.
And you couldn't down it, because then it becomes fourth down.
Right.
If they down it, then
you may not have the downs to keep hope alive.
It's fourth down, so I think that was smart calling timeout. You would love not to have to use it then.
Well, at 10:38, on as beautiful a night as you're going to find in the upstate of South Carolina, there are 22 seconds on the game clock here at the reservation, and we still don't know for sure who Region 2 5A's champion is going to be for 2024.
You really don't. It's a matter now. You don't want them to get the first down, but you don't want to get beat deep either.
And for
so they're
Spartanburg,
probably going to have the throw underneath to get the first.
And for Spartanburg, they just need that one big play Coach, that defines the season. Third down, Vikings.
And they motion by the left side.
There was movement there. The question, which side this is going to go? You saw motion, and they're pointing that way. This is going to back the Vikings up further.
I think left tackle's in there.
Tough moment for the visiting Vikings as they try and battle back. A different spot for Spartanburg. You know, they went out front 7-0 on their first possession. Gaffney evened at 7-7, and then Spartanburg rolled out front, eclipsed 21st.
Well, they had opportunities.
Had chances.
You got to kick. You got to make touchdowns.
And now they find themselves with 24 seconds to work with somehow. When you look back at where it was, here it is at 24 with 3. on the down marker, and that is going to fall short of the receiver. Now it becomes a scenario where you got to pick up the first down or it's over.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be it. You got 20 seconds. They'll get the ball to the best athlete, maybe short of the first down to get to him, and then hopefully he can make a couple of people miss him and get not only the first down but a significant gain. But they got to, who they think is their best athlete, I think, is where they try to go.
Be a good candidate.
Yeah,
remember, he had the touchdown earlier, and Justin Rice has had some major catches tonight. Gaffney defense trying to put away a region title, and Spartanburg looking to keep hope alive on 4th and 10. Burke, he's going to unleash it downfield and intercepted. Gaffney will seal it.
And they went to 14.
With a Jaden Sims interception. The region title is going to stay right here in Cherokee County on a come-from-behind victory for the Gaffney Indians.
So much character. I mean, Gaffney showed a lot of grit. They showed a lot of determination, showed a lot of character, because they could have folded. They were in a position when it was 24-7 that but they didn't, and they came back and they got 2 touchdowns with 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter.
Boy, you think about for Spartanburg at the end of the half, the other couple of field goal opportunities. They've been so good in those departments this year. Just couldn't quite put the finishing touches on the Gaffney Indians. And you know, this team historically in South Carolina football, when you don't put that final dirt on them, they somehow find a way.
Wasn't it 24-7?
Yeah, the Indians were at 7-7. It was Spartanburg from there.
20 straight points.
And the Gaffney Indians find themselves looking for every coach's favorite formation now.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
The victory formation for Gaffney. How about this night? Now, again, Spartanburg still in a spot to make a deep postseason run, perhaps even hoist a championship trophy before it's done. Gaffney has designs on that on their side of the bracket as well. But on this night, the Indians able to put it in the hands of their playmakers, take a knee, and Gaffney is going to come away with the region championship. A come from behind for the ages, and a 27-24 Gaffney Indian victory here at home. We'll come back and put the finishing touches on this one. It's Gaffney in Region 2 5A for 2024. Down through the generations, when Gaffney and Spartanburg get together, it never disappoints. Shane Davidson among the heroes tonight. Enters Mulchin Moore providing our dirty jersey of the game. His jersey on more than one occasion. He ended up with 3 touchdown catches tonight to keep the Gaffney Indians in it before Jaden McDowell rushed around the left side and into the end zone to give Gaffney the comeback and the 27-24 region championship tonight. Coach, you reflect upon this one. This was a night where Gaffney never quit. Spartanburg had some opportunities. They were out front, but the Indians powered back, and they claim the latest chapter in this storied rivalry and a Region 2 5A championship.
Key of the ball game was the second quarter when, you know, they pick up the fumble, run it down to the 10-yard line, and Spartanburg's already up, and Gaffney makes him kick a field goal. I think that was a key. That Spartanburg scored a touchdown there, I'm not sure, but Gaffney, and that showed that grit, that showed that determination, and they played hard. And in the 4th quarter, they pretty well dominated the 4th quarter.
The 4th quarter was where almost all the points came.
I mean, they did dominate the 4th quarter.
Think about that opportunity at the end of the half for Spartanburg. There are a number of times the Vikings will look back at, and it'll be building blocks for both these teams, because remember, they're going to go on 2 separate brackets for the postseason.
Right, exactly.
Spartanburg very capable of claiming a Division I title if they can string together some wins. Gaffney reminding you tonight they're going to be in the mix for a Division II title.
They're going to be, and I hope to see Gaffney and Greenwood play about the 3rd round, and because I think one's going to be seeded 3, one's going to be seeded 4, and who knows, they may.
Coming out of the upstate's always tough. It may be even tougher for these two teams this time around. What are your thoughts on what we witnessed here tonight, and what it says about these two schools, the history of this rivalry, and the quality of football here in the upstate?
Well, I tell you, Mark Huff just walked in the office or in the room here, and he's been in a lot of championship situations.
Another championship coach in his own right.
This is a great game. 2 communities that love athletics. kids that played hard. And what can you say? Just a great win for Gaffney and a tough loss for Spartanburg.
Well, and we look forward to hearing what Gaffney's head coach, Dan Jones, final regular season home game for Dan Jones, who put his name at the top of the list in all-time wins here at the reservation during his career as a player, as an assistant, and now the head man. He's standing by with Nelson. Here's the Bojangles trophy presentation.
Thanks, Shell. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Contest. Well, Coach, first thing is first, congratulations to you and all your boys on a major resurgence in the second half of the game. Such tenacity, such grit, and such dedication. What were your thoughts on the game, Coach?
Thought it was fantastic. We came here to win a region championship. We got down 24-7. Kids didn't quit, and because of that, we ended up being the region champs.
And you're not just region champs, Coach. This is also a very special night for everybody involved as well. It's senior night for many of your players. Obviously, your game is being televised right now. You locked down an 8-1 record for the season, and obviously the postseason is coming right around the corner. Talk to us about how special it was to actually beat an opponent on televised game, Coach.
These guys aren't used to it, but I'm used to it. A lot of them are, because when y'all come, and senior night, seems like they find a way to win the football game just like they did tonight.
Yes, sir. Now, Coach, we all know you've had quite the storied career in football. A football player, an assistant football coach, a head coach. You have coached countless young men across countless years. Let's talk about how special that opportunity has been for you, Coach.
Oh, it's special, but, you know, it's about these guys. It always will. I tell the kids, you know, Gaffney football is going to be here without me, without you, without you, without you, and it's going to roll, and that's the way it's been since I've been here. And I love it, and I love the way these kids play.
Now, Coach, in your professional opinion, as a man who secured his fair share of state championships, you know I got to ask you the most important question tonight here, Coach. You just locked down the regional championship. In your opinion, do you believe this team is capable of winning another state championship, Coach?
I told them it's in their hands. It's up to them. It's how hard they want to go get it. They certainly do.
I respect that, Coach. But once again, on behalf of my 40 and Friday Night Rivals, congratulations on a storied career. Of course, congratulations to your team!
You heard it from head coach Dan Jones in his final regular season home game. He said, Gaffney, with or without the names, with or without the individuals, the names on the back of the jerseys change. The generations come and go, but Gaffney rolls on. Tonight they roll to a region championship, and no reason to believe they won't roll on toward perhaps yet another title in 2024. That story is still to be written. This one is in the books. From the reservation in Cherokee County, now final, Gaffney powers back for a 27-24 win from a broadcast partner, legendary head coach Shell Dula. Coach Shell Dula.
Thank you, Jason.
Pleasure to walk through it with you.
We enjoyed it.
For our entire crew working hard for you here in Cherokee County and beyond, we say good night from Gaffney. Thanks for joining us for this season of Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. What an ender as Gaffney claims the region title over Spartanburg.
'Cause this is the big time.